Have you ever wondered about the secrets hidden in objects that have survived thousands of years? Welcome to Unearthed Secrets, where we uncover mysterious relics, lost stories, and astonishing artifacts from across the globe. If you enjoy exploring history's most fascinating mysteries, please hit subscribe and like, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. Let's begin. The ring that breathed gold. The ring was small, delicate in form, yet vast in meaning. It lay beneath the soil of Italy for centuries, waiting as empires rose and fell above it, as farmers plowed the earth, as storms churned the soil, as wars burned the fields. No hand touched it for untold generations, and no eye saw the golden shimmer hidden beneath layers of stone and time. Yet when it was uncovered, its surface seemed to glimmer with a breath of its own, as if the ancient air still moved inside its form, whispering of the people who made it, the gods it honored, and the secrets it guarded. This was no mere ornament. It was a circle forged from mystery, a band that carried eternity in its shape, a relic the Etruscans might have believed could outlast death itself. The ring that breathed gold was never silent. Even today, those who look upon it feel a presence, a pulse, as though gold itself carried memory. To understand the ring, one must first step back into the shadowy world of the Etruscans. Their civilization blossomed long before Rome claimed Italy, their cities thriving with trade, ritual, and artistry. They were masters of metalwork, their goldsmiths capable of coaxing metal into threads finer than hair, into patterns so intricate that centuries later, even with magnification, one marvels at their detail. The Etruscans knew that gold was more than wealth. To them, it was alive, a divine material, a fragment of sunlight, solidified, a substance resistant to decay and corruption. To craft a ring was not merely to make an adornment, but to trap eternity in a loop, to create a circle without beginning or end, the shape of infinity itself. This particular ring was more than even that. Its surface bore designs, symbols carved and etched with a precision that told of both artistry and devotion. Some saw spirals, others faint forms of animals or gods, each curve heavy with meaning. It was not only worn on a finger, but carried as a talisman, perhaps buried with the dead to accompany the soul beyond. Imagine the Etruscan goldsmith at his bench, centuries ago. The faint glow of oil lamps flickers against the walls. He holds the raw metal in his hand, heavy and dull before it yields to fire. Into the furnace it goes, glowing red, then white, alive with heat, pliable and ready to be shaped. The craftsman hammers, molds and breathes upon it, as though coaxing it into life. Each breath against the glowing surface is part of the story, for when the ring cooled, it seemed to carry within itself the warmth, the vitality of human breath. The people believed it could protect its wearer, tie them to divine favor, or even link them to the underworld. To slip it upon one's finger was not merely decoration, it was covenant, contract, blessing, and shield. Gold has no scent, no taste, no sound, and yet this ring seems to carry all three. To those who unearthed it, it felt strangely warm despite lying in cold earth for centuries. To others it appeared to shine more brightly when placed near fire, as if it drank in the light and exhaled it again. One could almost imagine it inhaling the centuries of silence it endured underground and releasing them in a quiet golden breath. Those who study it speak of the Etruscan way of binding soul to object, of making artifacts not as lifeless possessions but as vessels that carried spirit. Perhaps this ring was one such vessel, not only a circle of gold but a container of unseen essence. The wearer of the ring remains unknown. No name is etched upon it, no inscription gives away its story, and yet we can dream. Was it worn by a priest who entered sacred groves where the gods were believed to walk, offering sacrifices beneath ancient oaks? Was it slipped upon the finger of a bride during a ritual that united two families, binding them as firmly as gold itself? Was it carried into battle by a warrior who believed it would shield him, who felt its presence when the arrows rained down and the clash of bronze filled the air? Or did it belong to a noblewoman, buried with her beneath carved tombs, meant to travel with her into the afterlife, where feasts and music awaited? Each possibility lingers in the air like breath, and the ring refuses to tell us which is true. The Etruscans had a profound relationship with death. Their tombs, carved into stone, were decorated not with sorrow, but with scenes of banquets, dances, hunts, and joy. To them, life and death were part of the same endless cycle, and gold was the bridge that joined the two. Rings, necklaces, and diadems were placed upon the dead, not to decay with them, but to survive, to stand as proof that the person's essence continued. The ring that breathed gold was likely one such token, buried in darkness, resting against bone, whispering into silence, until hands of another age uncovered it. For the Etruscans, to place a ring on the finger of the dead was to grant them continuity, a symbol of unbroken passage, a sign that though the body might crumble, the circle endured. But what of its power today? When held in modern hands, the ring inspires the same awe it did centuries ago. Museum visitors lean close, eyes tracing the delicate patterns. Scholars debate its meaning. Some claim its motifs link to Etruscan gods, Tinia, the sky deity, or Uni, goddess of life and destiny. Others see signs of celestial charts, as if the goldsmith etched the heavens themselves into the band. Still others argue it was purely ornamental, though such an explanation rarely satisfies. For who could believe that so much care, so much precision, so much reverence could be poured into something meant to be ordinary? The ring itself seems to laugh at such simplicity. It holds its secrets close, exhaling only hints, letting us breathe in its mystery without ever truly knowing. Gold never tarnishes, never rusts. It emerges from the earth as radiant as when it was buried. This is why civilizations from Egypt to Mesopotamia, from Greece to the Andes, revered it as the substance of gods. To the Etruscans, gold was eternal, and eternity could be worn. When one slipped the ring upon their finger, they carried a fragment of the divine, a promise of immortality. Perhaps this is why it feels alive even now. Perhaps this is why we say it breathed, because in its unchanging glow, it mimics life itself, unyielding to decay, untouchable by time. Time itself bent around it, rushing past, and yet the ring remained, gleaming as if it had just cooled from the fire of the forge. Legends cling to such objects. Some whisper that those who wore it could never lie without the ring growing heavy upon their hand, that it demanded truth as gold demands purity. Others believed it could calm the restless dead, that it was used in rituals to breathe words into the afterlife, carrying prayers beyond the veil. A tale tells of a priestess who wore it at night while chanting to the moon, believing that with each breath, the ring inhaled her prayers and carried them upward in invisible streams. Another story claims it belonged to a ruler who feared betrayal, and that the ring's warmth warned him when enemies drew near. Truth or legend, we cannot say, but every relic draws such tales to itself, as if mystery requires myth to survive. The soil of Italy still holds countless Etruscan treasures. Tombs lie beneath fields, artifacts beneath vineyards, stories waiting to be told. Yet few pieces speak as this ring does. Its very simplicity is what magnifies its wonder. A circle, a band, a loop without end. Yet in it resides eternity. When one gazes upon it, they feel drawn into that circle, their own breath syncing with the breath of gold, their own heartbeat echoing against the timeless pulse of the artifact. This is what makes it unlike any other. It is not loud, not imposing. It does not boast of size or weight. Instead, it whispers, it breathes, and in that breath, entire centuries seem to exhale. Picture it lying in its tomb once more. The earth presses around it, silence fills the chamber. Yet it glimmers faintly, unseen. In that darkness, it does not vanish. It does not weaken. It waits. Time itself does not dissolve it. When the tomb is opened, when sunlight pours across it, it greets the light as if no years have passed. It is a survivor, not just of soil and stone but of meaning, carrying forward the intentions of the hand that forged it. That hand has long since turned to dust, the body long vanished, the voice silenced, but the ring remains, a bridge between what was and what endures. It carries not only the breath of the goldsmith, but of all who have gazed upon it, all who have wondered, all who have let its mystery settle into them like air. The ring that breathed gold continues to breathe because we continue to breathe with it. Every time a visitor pauses before its glass case, every time a scholar bends over sketches of its design, every time a storyteller whispers its name into the stillness of night, it lives again. Objects survive, but meaning must be given. The Etruscans understood this, that gold is not merely inert but a vessel, and so, centuries later, we still feel it. We still hear its whisper. We still inhale the faint exhalation of history that lingers around its form. The circle continues, unbroken, and so the story continues, endless as gold, infinite as breath, timeless as the ring itself. The amulet that counted hearts. There are objects in human history that speak not with words but with presence. They lie silent in the soil for centuries, yet when uncovered, they whisper of lives lived long ago, of rituals, of faith, of hopes and fears that once stirred human hearts. One such artifact, discovered in the shifting sands of Nubia, is known to us today as the amulet that counted hearts. Forged of gold, it was small enough to fit in the palm of a hand, yet weighty enough to hold meaning that stretched across an entire civilization. In the ancient world, amulets were never mere ornaments. They were prayers solidified into metal, beliefs made tangible, and bridges between the seen and unseen. To hold such an amulet was to believe it held the power of protection, guidance, or eternal life itself. In the case of this Nubian piece, its purpose seemed tied to one of the most mysterious and sacred of all ideas, the weighing of the heart after death. The Nubian kingdom, stretching along the Nile in what is now Sudan, was a land of great contrast. To the north lay the Egyptian kingdoms, whose monumental temples and tombs were known even in distant lands. To the south stretched wild savanna and desert, filled with resources, trade routes, and dangers alike. Nubia was a crossroads, absorbing and reshaping ideas from Egypt, Africa, and beyond. Gold was one of its greatest riches, drawn from mines that produced wealth for pharaohs and Nubian kings alike. It is no surprise then that Nubians crafted objects of power in gold. Objects like this amulet. Its shape was deceptively simple, yet its engravings told a story. Scholars who studied it saw faint markings that resembled not just decoration but symbols, lines that hinted at ritual purpose. The heart, in ancient belief, was not just an organ that pumped life. It was the seat of memory, conscience, and truth. To weigh a heart was to weigh the sum of a life. Egyptians believed that upon death, one's heart was placed upon the scales, balanced against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth. A heart heavy with lies or cruelty would doom the soul. A heart light and pure would pass on into eternity. Nubians, who interacted deeply with Egyptian culture, absorbed and reimagined these ideas. And so, the amulet that counted hearts was likely made as a charm for the dead, placed upon the chest of one who had crossed into the silence of the tomb, ensuring their heart would be measured with mercy. But was it only funerary in purpose? Some argue it was worn in life as well, a small safeguard against ill fate, reminding its bearer daily that their deeds would one day be judged. The amulet may have been touched, kissed, or held in moments of fear, each gesture strengthening the bond between the living and the divine. Imagine for a moment a craftsman of Nubia sitting before a low fire, hammering thin sheets of gold with careful rhythm. He does not work quickly. Gold resists haste. Each strike must be deliberate, turning raw material into something that gleams with purpose. Around him, others of his community weave baskets, grind grain, or prepare goods for market. But his task is different. He shapes what cannot be eaten, cannot be worn for warmth, but is instead meant to touch eternity. The amulet takes shape beneath his hands, a reflection of belief as much as of skill. When modern archaeologists uncovered the burial where this amulet was found, they described the site as modest compared to the grand pyramids of Nubia. This was not the resting place of a king or queen. It belonged instead to someone of middle rank, perhaps a priest, perhaps a merchant, perhaps a warrior whose family wished him safe passage. And there, placed carefully upon the body, was the amulet. To touch it after centuries was to break into an ancient conversation between the living and the dead. Its surface, though dulled with time, still gleamed faintly, as if gold remembered light even when buried in darkness. The amulet's story is not just about personal belief, but also about Nubia's role in history. Too often, Nubia is overshadowed by its northern neighbor Egypt. Yet Nubia had its own powerful kings, its own gods, its own traditions. The kingdom of Kush, centered at Kerma and later at Meroe, ruled vast stretches of land and even conquered Egypt at times. The Nubians were known as fierce warriors, skilled archers, and traders who brought ivory, ebony, incense, and gold into the networks of the ancient world. Their burial practices, while influenced by Egypt, also had local variations. Nubian pyramids, smaller and steeper than those of Giza, dotted the desert in great numbers. Inside them, bodies were adorned with jewelry, amulets, and objects meant to sustain them beyond death. The amulet that counted hearts fits into this pattern, a piece not just of adornment, but of theology. Yet its meaning is slippery. Scholars debate, did Nubians see the heart as the Egyptians did, or did they infuse the concept with local belief? Was the amulet tied to one specific god, or to a broader sense of divine judgment? Some argue that the faint engravings hint at the goddess Isis, who was revered in Nubia as well as Egypt. Others suggest it may have been connected to local deities now lost to time. What is certain is that it carried the hope of balance, the hope that when the time came, the soul would not be cast into oblivion. There is something profoundly human in this. Across cultures, people have imagined their lives judged by unseen scales. Whether in Nubia, Egypt, Mesopotamia, or far beyond, the idea that one's deeds are weighed after death recurs again and again. The amulet is a reminder that those who lived centuries before us wrestled with the same question we do. Have I lived well? Holding the amulet in a museum case today, one might feel its weight and wonder about the hand that once held it last. Was it slipped gently onto the body of a loved one by grieving family? Was it pressed against a chest by a priest chanting words we no longer understand? Or was it worn day after day, slowly absorbing the warmth of skin until the time came when the wearer themselves was laid in the ground? Each possibility leaves its trace, like a faint echo across time. The Nubian gold mines that fed such craftsmanship remind us of another truth. Artifacts like this were born of labor, often hard and dangerous. Men dug deep into the earth, hauling rock and sand beneath blazing sun, while women washed and sifted sediments to find the hidden glitter of gold dust. To transform that into an amulet was not merely to use wealth but to sanctify toil. Every piece of gold carried with it the work of countless hands. Perhaps this is why such objects held power, because they embodied not just belief, but also sacrifice. The amulet that counted hearts has since traveled far from its home. It rests in collections where scholars and visitors peer at it through glass, reading labels that describe its date, material, and origin. Yet those words cannot capture what it meant to its makers. To them, it was not an artifact. It was a companion to eternity, a safeguard against the silence that followed death, a reminder that even when life ended, the heart would still speak, and that someone, somewhere, would listen. And so the amulet whispers still, not in words, but in questions. How do we measure a life? What is the weight of memory, of kindness, of cruelty? When we leave this world, what part of us lingers to be counted? For the Nubians, the answer was bound in gold, resting upon the chest of the departed. For us, the amulet is both a relic and a mirror, reflecting the timeless human need to believe that life is more than breath, that it is something that can be weighed, remembered, and perhaps redeemed. The statue that sang to water. In the humid jungles of Cambodia, where the air carries the weight of centuries and vines climb over silent stones, there once stood a figure carved from sandstone, a statue whose story drifts like a song lost in the wind. To those who uncovered it in fragments, the sculpture seemed ordinary at first glance, weathered, broken, softened by centuries of rain. But whispers clung to it, whispers that said this was not a statue meant for silence. This was the statue that sang to water. And to understand why such a name was given, we must step back into the heart of the Khmer Empire, where gods, rivers, and stone lived as one. The Khmer, builders of Angkor and guardians of one of the most complex civilizations Southeast Asia has ever known, did not carve without purpose. Their temples rose like mountains, their canals stretched like veins across the land, and their statues were more than decorations. They were channels, bridges between earth and heaven, between men and the forces that ruled rain, fertility, and time itself. The sandstone statue that came to be known as the one that sang to water was likely carved in the height of the empire, when kings of Angkor dreamed not only of power but of cosmic order. Its face bore the calm serenity of a bodhisattva, or perhaps of a river deity, though erosion blurred the details into mystery. Its body stood in the posture of offering, as though caught mid-gesture, eternal and unyielding. The Khmer people lived by water. Their empire depended on it as much as on stone. The great reservoirs, the baraz, glistened beneath the sun, capturing monsoon rains and feeding the rice fields that sustained millions. Temples themselves were built in relation to water. Their moats not mere defenses but reflections of sacred seas, mirrors of the cosmic ocean surrounding the world. And so, a statue tied to water was no simple idol. It was an invocation, a guardian, perhaps even a voice in ritual. Why then did people believe it sang? In some accounts, villagers said that when monsoon storms approached, the statue would hum faintly, a vibration in the air around it, as though the sandstone remembered the rhythm of rain. Others said that when placed near flowing water, the wind passing over its carved lines created tones too soft to be explained by chance. Some archaeologists suggest that its design, with hollow curves and openings, may indeed have caught wind and produced sound, a natural effect mistaken for the divine. Yet in the ancient world, such effects were never dismissed as accidents. They were signs. They were proof that stone could breathe with spirit. To the Khmer, statues were not silent. When consecrated through ritual, they were inhabited by the presence of gods. They were washed, clothed, offered food and incense, treated as living beings. If this statue truly gave voice when storms gathered, then to its keepers it was alive, singing the hymn of rain that meant survival. Imagine a priest in Angkor centuries ago, standing before this very figure, the air heavy with the scent of lotus and sandalwood. He chants, his voice steady, as the sky darkens. Around him the farmers wait, hoping the rains will come. And then, as the wind rushes through temple corridors and brushes across the statue's form, a tone rises, faint but clear, a murmur like a chant, not made by any living man. The crowd kneels, and the statue sings to water. The tale of the singing statue may be myth, but the context in which it lived was no less extraordinary. The Khmer engineered one of the most sophisticated water management systems of the pre-modern world. Their survival depended on predicting the unpredictable cycles of monsoon and drought. Statues, shrines, and temples all played their role in ensuring harmony between human effort and divine will. Water was not simply utility, it was sacred. To honor water was to honor life itself. That is why sandstone, quarried from distant mountains, was carved and transported, set in alignment with rivers and reservoirs. That is why the statue mattered, not just as art, but as assurance that the bond between heaven and earth was intact. When the statue was rediscovered centuries later, it was not in its original temple. It lay partly buried near a collapsed wall, broken at the torso, its head missing. Yet even in ruin, it radiated a presence. Those who touched it said the stone was strangely cool, even beneath the burning tropical sun. Locals, aware of its legends, treated it with respect, placing small offerings of flowers and rice nearby. They whispered that disturbing it would anger the waters, that floods or drought would follow. Archaeologists carefully documented it, noting stylistic features that suggested it belonged to the 12th century, perhaps during the reign of Jayavarman VII, the king who filled Angkor with statues of compassion and divine guardians. To hold such a fragment in one's hand is to feel not only weight but time compressed. The grain of sandstone still carries the memory of rivers where it was once quarried, the chisels that struck it, the hands that polished its surface. It is a reminder that the Khmer built not with fleeting timber, but with stone meant to endure. Yet even stone yields to centuries. Rain streaked its features, moss softened its lines, roots embraced it as if to draw it back into the earth. In silence, the statue became part of the jungle's own song. But legends persist. Even now, some villagers near Angkor tell of hearing tones when the wind is high and the rains approach. Perhaps it is imagination, perhaps it is the rustle of trees mistaken for voice. Or perhaps, as the ancients believed, stone holds memory, and memory finds its way back to the living. The statue that sang to water may no longer stand whole, but the idea it embodied remains, that humans and nature are not separate, that voices can emerge where least expected, that even carved silence might one day sing. The mystery of such an object is not meant to be solved completely. For scholars, it is a study in acoustics, ritual, and history. For villagers, it is a tale of reverence. For us, looking back across the centuries, it is an invitation to wonder, what else did the ancients build into their works that we no longer perceive? What senses did they trust that we now dismiss? If stone could sing, then the world is far more alive than we imagine, and so the statue rests, half forgotten, half remembered, a fragment of belief turned into legend. When you stand before its remains today, in a museum or hidden corner of the temple ruins, you may hear nothing at all. Yet listen closely, not with ears alone but with imagination, and you may catch it, the faintest echo of rain, the hum of wind across carved lines, the hymn of water remembered in stone. It is not the statue that sings, but history itself, carrying forward the voices of those who lived, prayed, and listened long ago. The statue that sang to water is, in truth, more than an artifact. It is a story carried on the breath of time, a reminder that every culture finds ways to speak with the forces that sustain them. For the Khmer, water was life, and stone was faith. To unite them in a statue was to make the invisible visible, the inaudible audible. And perhaps, if we allow ourselves to believe as they once did, we too might hear the voice of water in stone, whispering, chanting, singing, forever in the jungle's green embrace. The scroll that hummed. In the quiet chambers of ancient China, where lacquered screens whispered against silk robes and lanterns swayed in the hush of midnight air, there was once a scroll that carried more than words or painted images. It was said to carry a sound, the hum of a note, too soft for the ear, yet somehow felt beneath the skin, a vibration that lingered in the chest long after the eyes had finished tracing its delicate lines. They called it the scroll that hummed, a creation of the Tang dynasty, woven from silk, ink, and devotion, an artifact that blurred the line between art and spirit. To understand why a scroll should hum is to step into the Tang world, where poetry, ritual, and painting were not merely expressions but vessels of power, tuned to the frequencies of heaven and earth. The Tang dynasty, flourishing from the 7th to the 10th century, was an age where China reached outward and inward all at once. Its capitals, Chang and Luoyang, brimmed with merchants, monks, diplomats, and dreamers from across the Silk Road. To walk its streets was to hear dozens of languages at once, to taste spices from India, to see robes dyed with Persian indigo, to glimpse manuscripts from lands far beyond the horizon. Yet at its heart, the Tang world was bound together by a deep sense of harmony, an obsession with the idea that art could align human life with the rhythm of the cosmos. The scroll that hummed was no ordinary document. Unlike bamboo slips or paper manuscripts, it was fashioned of fine silk, smooth to the touch, luminous under candlelight. Upon its surface were painted flowing landscapes, mountains rising like breaths of the earth, rivers winding like veins of silver, clouds drifting in endless procession. At intervals, poems unfurled in brushstrokes so fluid they seemed still damp centuries later, their characters breathing as though alive. Some fragments of the scroll spoke of the Tao, of balance and emptiness, of the resonance between stone and sky. Others hinted at Buddhist sutras, at chants that once echoed through monastery halls. And when read aloud in a certain rhythm, it was said the scroll itself would respond, not with words but with a hum, as if the silk carried memory of the voices that had passed across it. The Chinese word for resonance, yun, was often used to describe both sound and spirit. A painting had yun if it carried vitality beyond pigment. A poem had hewn, if its rhythm lingered beyond recitation. To say that a scroll hummed was not merely metaphor, but recognition that it vibrated with this vital force. The Tang court was filled with scholars who believed that true art could move qi, the breath of life that filled heaven and earth. If qi coursed through all things, then why should not silk and ink, bound together by intention, hum with its flow? Legends tell of a scholar in Chang'an who first described the hum. He had unrolled the scroll by lamplight one stormy night, the rain drumming on the eaves, the oil flame trembling. As his eyes traced the painted peaks, he began to chant aloud the accompanying verse. With each syllable, the air in the room seemed to shift, to tremble faintly, as if the sound of his voice was being carried back to him in another form. At first he thought it imagination, the play of storm and solitude, but then, when he paused, he felt it continue. A faint hum, low and steady, emanating not from the lamp nor from the rain, but from the silk itself. He set down his brush in awe. From that moment, the scroll was no longer mere art, it was a companion of sound. Was it illusion? Could finely woven silk, painted and inscribed, vibrate with voice in such a way as to give impression of hum? Some modern thinkers suggest so, that the weave of Tang silk, dense and taut, might have caught and reflected sound waves, especially in quiet enclosed spaces. Others think the effect was psychological, born of a reader's immersion, the heightened awareness brought by chant and candlelight. But for the Tang, explanation mattered less than experience. The scroll hummed because it was alive, because it carried the spirit of those who had touched it, painted it, prayed over it. We must remember that scrolls in the Tang world were more than reading material. They were objects of ritual, displayed in temples, unrolled during ceremonies, handled with reverence. Silk scrolls were sometimes commissioned as offerings, placed before statues of the Buddha, or gifted between nobles as tokens of allegiance. Each line of ink, each brushstroke of mountain or moon, was thought to carry intention, yi, which could bind the material to the immaterial. To read such a scroll aloud was to activate it, to let it breathe. And if it hummed, it was not a surprise but a blessing, proof that heaven and earth had heard. The scroll's subject matter remains uncertain, for time has frayed its edges. Some fragments suggest a journey through landscapes, painted in the blue and green style, peaks kissed by azure, valleys traced in malachite green. Others suggest sutras, chants from Mahayana Buddhism, perhaps the Heart Sutra itself, written in brush so fine the strokes resemble threads. One tale says the scroll was painted by Wu Daozi, the legendary Tang painter who could conjure motion from ink, whose murals were said to make walls breathe. Another story insists it was created by a Buddhist monk who wove sutra into silk itself, embedding syllables between threads unseen by the eye but felt by the ear. Whatever its origin, the scroll became legend. Pilgrims who traveled to see it swore that when read aloud in temple halls, it harmonized with the chants of monks, as though it added a hidden voice beneath the chorus. In times of drought, officials unrolled it beside rivers, reciting its lines to call the rains. In times of conflict, generals carried copies, believing its hum carried the approval of heaven. To possess it was to possess not just art, but resonance, the unseen order that bound empires. But empires fall, and scrolls decay. The Tang, after centuries of brilliance, unraveled under rebellion, famine, invasion. Temples burned, libraries collapsed, treasures scattered across deserts and oceans. The scroll that hummed vanished from records. Its last mention tucked in the memoir of a wandering monk who claimed to have carried it westward, its voice keeping him company in lonely mountain passes. After that silence, and yet fragments endure. In museums, pieces of Tang silk survive, faded paintings, torn sutras, threads still shimmering faintly under glass. Among them, some scholars whisper, lies a fragment of the humming scroll, a section painted with mountains, lines so delicate they seem to ripple with the breath of wind. Visitors lean close, some swearing they sense a vibration when they breathe upon it, as though the silk hums still, too faint for the instruments of science, but clear to the heart that listens. To hold such a scroll is to hold not merely pigment on silk, but centuries of human longing. It is to touch the fingertips of calligraphers who believed each brushstroke carried their soul, to feel the presence of monks who recited sutras in lamplit halls, to hear the echoes of storms long gone, still caught in the weave. The hum is not in the scroll alone, it is in the memory of those who approached it with reverence, who believed the world itself was alive with sound. And perhaps that is the lesson the scroll carries across time, that art is not silent, that words and images are not fixed. They are voices waiting to be heard, songs waiting to be sung again. The hum is the bridge, the reminder that even across centuries, silk and ink can still speak. In a world where noise often drowns meaning, the hum of the scroll is quiet, steady, endless. To hear it is not to hear sound, but to feel presence, the presence of a dynasty that believed beauty was not decoration but harmony, that the universe itself was written in strokes of ink across silk. so the scroll rests, whether in whole or in fragments, its hum waiting for those who know how to listen. Perhaps one day, in a silent room, as you lean close and trace the painted lines, you too will feel it. The faint vibration of silk, the hum of history, the song of the tang whispered back through time. The axe that slipped through time. Time is an ocean, vast and unfathomable, where some things sink and vanish into its depths, never to be touched again, while others float upward like fragments of driftwood, finding their way into our hands thousands of years later. In the heart of Europe, where forests once stretched so thick that sunlight itself had to fight its way to the ground, a small piece of bronze emerged from beneath the soil, an axe, darkened by centuries, yet unmistakably human. It lay there waiting, patient as stone, a quiet survivor of the Bronze Age, as though it had slipped not only through time, but through the very hands of history itself. The land it was found in, today called Germany, has known endless layers of human life: hunters who chased mammoths, farmers who tamed rivers, warriors who fought under banners, and kings who raised castles. But before the iron swords, before the chariots of Rome, there was a quieter, stranger time, the Bronze Age. A time when metal was more than a tool. It was almost a spirit. Bronze, born of fire and crafted from stone's hidden veins, seemed otherworldly. When people first struck copper with tin and discovered the alloy that shone like sunlight yet held the strength of bone, they believed they had touched a divine secret. Every axe, every blade, every ornament was more than an object. It was a pact between earth, fire, and hand. This axe, unearthed after thousands of years, bears that same aura. Its edges, once sharp enough to split timber or flesh, are dulled by time, but its form is perfect. A socketed axe designed to fit snugly onto a wooden shaft. Its head still carries faint traces of the hammering marks left by the smith who shaped it. If you tilt it under light, you can almost imagine his hands pressing against it, his eyes watching the molten metal cool, his heart hoping that the spirit within the bronze would answer his people's needs. To understand this axe, we must return to its time. Germany, in the 2nd millennium BCE, was a tapestry of small settlements. Wooden houses thatched with reeds clustered along rivers and meadows. Herds of cattle grazed under watchful eyes, while barley and wheat swayed in fields cleared by fire and sweat. The people lived close to the earth, yet they were no longer bound solely to stone. Bronze had changed them. It made their plows stronger, their weapons sharper, their ornaments more dazzling. Trade routes stretched like invisible threads, carrying amber from the Baltic, salt from the mountains, and tin from lands far away. Tin so rare that each fragment was worth its weight in lives. The axe may have traveled on such routes before arriving in the hands of its owner. Perhaps it was traded across forests, passed from tribe to tribe, valued as both weapon and treasure. To hold a bronze axe was to hold status. It was a mark of a leader, a chieftain, someone who could command both respect and fear. Some axes were never swung in battle at all. They were buried as offerings, given to the gods beneath the soil, slipped into rivers to vanish with the currents, or laid beside the dead so that they might carry power into the afterlife. Imagine the moment this axe first cooled in the smith's hands. He might have worked in a simple hut, where smoke curled through the thatched roof, and the heat of the furnace glowed red against clay walls. Bellows hissed, feeding fire with breath. The crucible poured its molten bronze into a stone mold, steam rising as the metal hissed and hardened. When the mold was broken, the axe emerged, shining, sharp, and new. Perhaps the smith whispered a prayer to the gods of fire and stone. Perhaps he gave it to a warrior who had waited, pacing in the doorway, eager to carry it into the forest. That warrior is gone now, dust beneath the soil, but the axe remains. It survived the fall of empires, the march of armies, the building and burning of villages. Roman legions passed near where it once lay buried. Medieval peasants tilled the soil above it, never knowing that beneath their feet slept a weapon older than their language. Wars raged in the land, cannons thundered, factories smoked, yet the axe endured, silent in the earth, waiting to be seen again. And then, in our time, someone's shovel struck it. At first perhaps they thought it a stone, but no stone has the sheen of bronze. When it was pulled from the soil, light touched it once more, and the axe looked as though it had indeed slipped through time, a fragment of another world delivered into ours. The questions it asks us are endless. Whose hand gripped it? Did it fell trees for homes, or men in battle? Was it laid in the ground as a sacred offering, or was it lost in haste, dropped in the mud of a forgotten skirmish? Was it the prized possession of a leader, or just one among many tools? Archaeologists can study its form, trace its alloy, compare it to others, but the stories remain whispers, carried only in imagination. This axe is not unique. Many Bronze Age axes have been found across Europe, but each one is a voice in the silence, a reminder that thousands of years ago, human lives were not so different from ours. They too sought strength, beauty, protection, and meaning. They too held objects that carried not just function but spirit. To them, bronze was not dead metal, it was alive, warm with the fire that had created it. The forests where it once swung are quieter now. Ancient oaks have fallen, rivers have changed their paths, and the people who once spoke the languages of the Bronze Age are gone. Yet when we hold this axe today, the boundary between past and present grows thin. It feels heavy, yes, but also alive, as though it remembers the hand that once guided it. That is why we call it the axe that slipped through time, because it seems less like an artifact we discovered, and more like a traveler who returned. It reminds us that time does not always bury everything. Some things sharp as memory, strong as metal, manage to endure, waiting for us to listen, and so we listen, as the axe hums in silence, its story unfinished, its edge dulled yet eternal. The necklace that tracked the moon. The desert keeps its secrets, beneath layers of sand, under the gaze of stars that have not moved for thousands of years. Egypt's treasures lie waiting, temples half buried, tombs sealed with forgotten names, relics sleeping as though time itself wished to keep them hidden. And among them, in the hushed silence of a tomb chamber, archaeologists once uncovered a necklace unlike any other. A band of gold, delicate yet unyielding, its surface etched with tiny markings that followed a rhythm as steady as breath. They called it the necklace that tracked the moon. Why such a name? Because its design was not merely beautiful, it was mathematical, astronomical, divine. Each tiny symbol on its golden links echoed the movement of the moon across the night sky. A jewel that shimmered on the throat of its owner, yes, but also a calendar, a celestial guide, a whisper of cosmic order. It was both ornament and instrument, a reminder that in Egypt beauty and meaning were never separate things. To understand this necklace, one must walk backward into time. Imagine the Nile in its quiet season, its waters glistening beneath a crescent moon. The air is heavy with the scent of reeds, and in the distance, the limestone cliffs gleam pale as bone. In villages along the riverbanks, women grind grain while men repair boats, and children chase one another barefoot in the dust. Yet above all their lives, the sky reigns supreme. The Egyptians did not merely glance at the heavens, they lived by them. The flood of the Nile, the sowing of fields, the festivals of gods, all were timed by the movements of the stars, the sun, and the moon. The moon in particular was sacred. Its waxing and waning marked cycles of life and death, fertility and barrenness, absence and return. To them the moon was not just a light in the night, it was a god's eye watching over the dark. The god Thoth, Lord of Wisdom, was often linked with the moon. He was said to have measured time itself, keeping count of months and years. His symbol, the ibis, appeared in countless shrines. The necklace, with its lunar rhythm, may well have been dedicated to him. Picture it resting in the hands of a goldsmith. His workshop is filled with heat and dust. A clay furnace glows red as charcoal burns within, and a crucible tilts, pouring molten gold that catches light like liquid sun. The goldsmith hammers, shapes, polishes. Every stroke is careful, not only because the material is precious, but because what he creates will outlast him. This necklace is not meant for one lifetime, it is meant for eternity. Its golden links are engraved with marks that count the nights of the lunar cycle, from the first crescent's timid glow to the full orb's brilliance and back to darkness. To wear it was to carry the moon's path against one's very skin. Perhaps it was made for a queen. We imagine her sitting in a chamber lit by oil lamps, her servants braiding her hair, her face painted with malachite green around the eyes. She lifts the necklace, feels its coolness against her palm, then places it around her neck. When she steps into the temple, priests bow low, and as the light of the moon pours down through a roof opening, the gold at her throat gleams like a mirror. To her people, she does not merely wear jewelry, she wears the cosmos, she wears the moon itself. But the necklace was more than ritual, it was a tool of reckoning. In an age without clocks or printed calendars, such objects were guides. The farmers who planted barley needed to know when the floods would recede, when to scatter seed, when to harvest. Priests needed to know when to perform rites, when to mourn, when to celebrate. The moon gave them these answers, and this necklace carried that knowledge in physical form. To look upon it was to read the rhythm of time itself. Egyptian gold had its own meaning too. Gold was not just wealth, it was eternity. Unlike copper or bronze, it did not tarnish. It shone as brightly 1,000 years later as the day it was shaped. The Egyptians saw it as the flesh of the gods, the eternal substance of the divine. To bury someone with gold was to give them a piece of eternity to carry into the afterlife. And so, when this necklace was laid in a tomb, it was not abandonment, it was a gift, a promise, that the wearer would always know the cycles of the moon, even in the land of the dead. Time passed. The tomb was sealed. Sand drifted against stone. Dynasties rose and fell. The necklace lay in the dark, untouched, while pharaohs built monuments, while armies marched, while foreign kings claimed the land. The necklace waited through centuries, silent, patient, incorruptible, and then thousands of years later, the tomb was opened. Torches flickered, shadows trembled on the walls, and hands reached out to lift the necklace once more into the light. For the first time in millennia, it saw the moon again. The archaeologists who found it were astonished. They traced the marks, compared them to lunar calendars, and realized that this necklace was no mere ornament. It was knowledge encoded in gold, a fusion of beauty and wisdom, body and cosmos. How many other objects have we mistaken for simple adornments when they were, in truth, instruments of time? When we look at it now, behind glass in a museum, it seems both impossibly distant and strangely near. Its gold still gleams, as though it were made yesterday. Its marks still line up with the moon's journey, as though time itself has not shifted. You cannot help but think, was this necklace meant for us to find? Did the ancients intend their wisdom to outlast them, to speak across millennia? The truth is, we do not know whose throat it once touched. We do not know if it belonged to a queen, a priestess, or a noble woman whose name is lost. We do not know if it was worn in life or crafted solely for death. But we know that it mattered, that someone poured devotion into it, that it was cherished enough to be carried into eternity. The necklace teaches us that history is not only carved in stone monuments or written on papyrus. Sometimes it is hidden in objects small enough to fit in a hand, an axe, a pendant, a ring, or a necklace that whispers to the moon. These objects are time travelers. They slip through centuries, not by accident, but because they are built to endure, and so it endures. The necklace that tracked the moon, a golden loop of eternity, echoing with cycles of light and shadow, reminding us that even when civilizations vanish, some part of their wonder remains. The mask that smiled without teeth. From the moment one steps into the quiet corridors of history, the mask that smiled without teeth rests like a secret, a ghost of ancient craft and silent devotion, waiting to be discovered beneath layers of soil and centuries of forgotten life. Crafted in the Han Dynasty of China, sometime between 206 BCE and 220 CE, this jade mask is not merely a funerary object, it is a vessel of identity, a silent witness to rites and rituals long vanished from memory. Its very creation speaks of an age when jade was not only precious but sacred, believed to hold the breath of immortality, the sheen of the heavens, and the strength of mountains. The mask's surface, smooth and almost glowing even after 2 millennia, hints at a perfection pursued by hands that knew both devotion and obsession. There are no teeth within its serene smile, a feature that invites contemplation. A smile not of earthly mirth, but of transcendence, a reflection of a soul slipping beyond the boundary of life into the embrace of eternity. One can almost hear the whisper of artisans' chisels, the careful shaping, the polishing that took hours upon hours, until the mask glimmered like water in a shaded forest. It was not merely a covering for the dead, it was a bridge, a luminous pathway from the realm of the living to that of spirits and ancestors. In its full form, the mask stretches across the face with symmetrical grace, jade fragments assembled with astonishing precision. Each piece is held in place not by modern adhesives, but by intricate cords, subtle grooves, and sometimes even by the patient friction of geometry. It is as if the mask itself is a puzzle, designed to defy time and to resist the intrusion of decay, and in doing so it has preserved the quiet visage of a person who walked the earth 2,000 years ago. Buried within tombs of the Han nobility, these masks were often accompanied by delicate garments, ornaments of gold and bronze, and sometimes by objects of daily use intended to accompany the soul beyond the veil. The jade mask was the ultimate talisman, believed to preserve flesh, protect the spirit, and ensure the soul's safe passage to the afterlife. Scholars have long debated the precise meaning of its blank eyes and toothless smile. Some suggest it symbolizes serenity in death, the acceptance of mortality, while others see it as an emblem of transformation, a visage that shows the human soul in its most elemental, purified state. Imagine standing in the dim light of an ancient tomb, the air thick with the scent of soil and faint incense. The mask lies before you, gleaming softly in flickering torchlight. Every curve tells a story. The slender cheekbones hint at the person who wore it. The faintly curved lips suggest a calm resignation, and the polished jade seems almost alive, catching and reflecting light as though aware of your gaze. The feeling is at once tranquil and uncanny, for though the mask is human-shaped, it is not human. It occupies a liminal space between life and death, material and spirit, memory and eternity. Each mask of this kind carries its own secrets. Some bear tiny inscriptions or markings, often hidden at the back or beneath overlapping pieces of jade. These marks could be the name of the deceased, a protective charm, or an invocation to ancestors, though their meanings are mostly lost to us. In some cases, masks were discovered with small artifacts, like miniature tools, coins, or charms, placed deliberately to guide or guard the spirit. The mask itself, however, remains the central focus, a talisman of permanence, untouched by time's erosive hand. To handle such a mask, if one were allowed, would be to feel the weight, not merely of jade, but of centuries of human hope and belief. The cold, smooth surface transmits a quiet energy, a sense of vigilance and solemnity. It is as if the mask, silent and enduring, watches over the centuries, guarding secrets of an age where the living and the dead were entwined in ritual, where every gesture in life prepared the spirit for the infinite journey beyond. Archaeological discovery has often revealed these masks in tandem with other funerary practices, such as elaborate coffins, painted murals, or ritual offerings. The juxtaposition of human care and divine aspiration in these tombs is extraordinary. The jade mask is both art and ritual, a token of eternal devotion, and a statement of power. The wealthy and noble could ensure their visage, even stripped of flesh, would endure, be seen, and be recognized by generations long after their passing. This particular mask's smile, toothless yet serene, is perhaps the most mysterious aspect. It offers neither joy nor sorrow, but rather a neutrality that is uncanny in its universality. It invites you to project stories onto it, to imagine the life once lived beneath its gleaming surface, a life in which family, politics, ritual, and perhaps even poetry coexisted, a life that is now distilled into jade and silence. In examining this artifact, one cannot ignore the broader cultural context. The Han Dynasty was a period of expansion, consolidation, and flourishing artistry. Jade was more than adornment, it was the medium of immortality, a bridge to the heavens, a protective charm for both rulers and commoners who could afford it. Funerary masks, such as this one, were manifestations of a culture's deepest beliefs about mortality, the soul, and the cosmos. Each curve and every polished surface reflects a worldview in which life, death, and eternity are inseparable, and in which the aesthetic of calm, order, and symmetry mirrors the desired state of the afterlife itself. As we wander through the ages, imagining the hands that assembled this mask, the eyes that rested beneath its smooth surface, and the final rites in which it participated, the object becomes a silent storyteller. It whispers of lives once lived, of ancestors revered, of rituals meticulously observed, and of a civilization that sought to understand and transcend mortality. The mask that smiled without teeth is more than jade. It is a prism of history, a mirror of human aspiration, a talisman of permanence, and a bridge across time. Each detail, from the faint curvature of lips to the polished surface that reflects torchlight, invites contemplation. It challenges modern observers to reconcile beauty with death, permanence with decay, and silence with the richness of human experience. Even in a museum setting today, with glass barriers and artificial lighting, the mask retains its quiet majesty. Scholars, historians, and casual visitors alike are drawn to it, compelled by its serenity and by the centuries of unseen hands and unseen lives that shaped it. It is impossible to see this mask and not feel a connection, however faint, to those who believed that through jade, through ritual, and through meticulous care, the self could endure beyond the transient confines of flesh. In the cool quiet of history, in the shadow of time, the mask that smiled without teeth endures, a testament to craft, belief, and the delicate dance between mortality and immortality. The sword that split the river rests quietly in the annals of memory, a weapon not only of metal and myth but of the very currents of time. Its legend stretches across the Tigris and Euphrates, winding through the fertile plains of Mesopotamia, the lands of Sumer, Akkad, and Persia, where rivers ran thick with both history and story. This is a sword that is said to have split the river, not literally, of course, but in the imaginations and hearts of those who revered it. For the Zulfiqar was no ordinary weapon. Its form, often depicted as a double-pointed or bifurcated blade, defies the conventions of sword-making, as if the blacksmiths who forged it sought to carve the essence of duality into steel, the balance of power and justice, of fear and protection, of mortality and transcendence. To understand the Zulfiqar is to understand the culture and beliefs from which it arose. In the cradles of early civilization along the Tigris and Euphrates, the sword was more than a weapon, it was a symbol, a talisman, a marker of authority. Kings, warriors, and even mythic heroes wielded swords as extensions of their will, and some swords were believed to carry the spirits of the river itself, the murmuring waters that had seen the rise and fall of empires. The Zulfiqar, in particular, was said to hold such power that even the bending of its edge, the shimmer of its blade, could command attention, respect, and awe. Imagine the blacksmith, hammer in hand, the heat of the forge licking at his face, as molten metal glows red and molten, shaped into a weapon that will be remembered for millennia. Every strike, every fold, every quench in oil or water, was deliberate, not only for strength, but for resonance. The blade was meant to sing when it cut the air, to hum with the weight of destiny, and to leave behind the echo of justice in every swing. Artisans were not mere craftsmen, they were custodians of a tradition that intertwined faith, power, and artistry. The sword itself is double-pointed, the two tines of the blade splitting outward like the branches of a river delta, delicate yet fierce. It is balanced, elegant, and paradoxical. designed for both ceremony and combat, for both symbolism and functionality. Legends tell of warriors who carried Zulfikar into battle, and though the records are often mythic and poetic, they converge upon a singular truth: the sword inspires courage, instills awe, and carries a weight far beyond its physical mass. To gaze upon the blade is to sense the river flowing beneath it, the waters that have nourished civilizations, carried trade, and swept away the remains of forgotten dynasties. As we imagine the sword in its original context, perhaps in the hands of a warrior clad in armor of hammered bronze or iron, the rivers nearby gleam under the sun, reflecting the promise and peril of a land where empires rose and fell like tides. The warrior holds the sword with reverence, understanding that it is not merely a weapon, but a talisman of legacy, a bridge between human endeavor and divine mandate. Every swing is an echo of generations, every parry a conversation with history, and every mark left on its surface a testament to battles witnessed and survived. The Zulfikar story is entwined with faith and devotion. In Islamic tradition, it is most famously associated with Ali ibn Abi Talib, the cousin and son-in-law of the Prophet Muhammad. It is said that the Prophet presented the sword to Ali, and in doing so, imbued it with not only his blessing, but with a symbolic authority that would ripple across centuries. The sword thus carries both historical and spiritual weight. To hold it, or to imagine holding it, is to feel the responsibility of justice and the burden of righteousness. It is a reminder that power must be tempered with wisdom, that victory is hollow without morality, and that legacy is measured not in bloodshed, but in honor. In the quiet of a museum, or the shadows of an ancient battlefield, one might imagine the Zulfikar resting in stillness. Its blade, polished and bifurcated, catches the light, reflecting the sun and moon in the same moment. The steel hums softly in memory, resonating with the whispers of warriors who once bore it, of kings who entrusted it, and of common folk who revered it from afar. Each curve, each edge, each engraving, tells a story of battles fought and lost, of diplomacy sealed in sweat and blood, of oaths sworn under the vast skies of Mesopotamia. To understand the power of the sword that split the river, we must also imagine the rivers themselves, the Tigris and the Euphrates, as living participants in history. They have witnessed the rise of cities like Babylon, and Persepolis. They have carried boats laden with grain and gold. They have fed the fields that nourished kings and commoners alike. The sword, in its essence, is as much a product of the river as it is of human craft. Its curve mirrors the river's meander. Its edge cuts with the inevitability of the current, and its presence commands respect as though it too were a force of nature. In battle, the Zulfikar was more than a weapon. It was a symbol, a morale booster, and a representation of divine sanction. Warriors would feel its weight in their hands, not as a burden but as an extension of their will. The bifurcated blade was not only functional but symbolic. The split represented clarity of purpose, a division between chaos and order, light and shadow, mercy and retribution. Historical records, though scarce, suggest that even in ceremonial contexts the sword's presence could command silence, induce awe, and invoke respect. To stand in the presence of the Zulfikar was to stand in the presence of history itself. Consider, too, the journey of the sword across time. Centuries have passed since the first smith heated metal to glowing red and hammered it into this form. Empires have risen and crumbled. Kings have ruled and been forgotten. Rivers have shifted course, leaving cities abandoned and temples in ruin. And yet the Zulfikar, or at least its memory, endures. Its legend survives in manuscripts, in poetry, in oral tradition, and in the careful recreation of historians who seek to understand both its form and its significance. Every telling is a thread in the tapestry of civilization, a bridge from past to present. Even the notion that the sword could split the river carries metaphorical weight. It suggests a force of disruption, a capacity to challenge what seems immutable. In the hands of the just, it splits the river of injustice. In the hands of the unworthy, it threatens to drown them in consequences. Its form, bifurcated and balanced, embodies this duality. Power that must be wielded wisely, responsibility intertwined with strength, destiny inseparable from action. Modern replicas of the Zulfikar attempt to capture its essence, but the true impact lies not merely in the metal, but in the history, the reverence, and the stories carried across generations. Scholars examine ancient texts, artisans study traditional techniques, and devotees meditate upon the symbolism, all in an attempt to understand the sword's place in history. Yet no replica, no matter how perfect, can fully encapsulate the weight of centuries, the resonance of battles fought, or the solemnity of the hands that first held the weapon in the quiet, fertile lands between the rivers. In imagining the sword resting beside the riverbanks of today, one can almost hear the whispers of history carried on the wind, tales of valor, of sacrifice, of wisdom, and of power. The currents of the Tigris and Euphrates, unchanged in their eternal flow, mirror the continuing influence of the Zulfikar. It is a reminder that objects, especially those of symbolic weight, do not merely exist, they participate in the ongoing story of human civilization. They shape memory, influence culture, and inspire awe long after their physical presence has faded. The sword that split the river, therefore, is not just an artifact. It is a conduit through time, a prism through which one can glimpse the values, fears, aspirations, and artistry of civilizations long past. It is a story of craft and belief, of rivers and deserts, of kings and warriors, of human hands seeking to shape both metal and destiny. It is, ultimately, a testament to the human desire for meaning, for permanence, and for legacy. As the sun sets over the plains of Mesopotamia and the waters of the Tigris and Euphrates reflect the twilight sky, one can imagine the sword resting silently in the arms of history. It hums with quiet power, inviting reflection, commanding respect, and connecting the observer across millennia with the lives, struggles, and aspirations of those who walked these lands long ago. Every edge, every curve, every glint of metal carries the echoes of the past, and in those echoes, one finds not only the sword itself, but the spirit of a civilization that understood the profound power of both the river and the blade. The story of the Zulfikar reminds us that history is not only written in ink or stone, but in metal and memory. It survives in legend, in poetry, in careful study, and in the imagination of those who, centuries later, pause to consider the balance of power, justice, and destiny, embodied in a single object. The sword that split the river is a bridge across time, a silent observer of humanity, and a talisman that continues to inspire awe and remind us that even in the passage of countless years, the echoes of courage, wisdom, and artistry endure. And as we sit beside the imagined river, listening to the soft murmur of water over stones, tracing the form of the blade in our mind's eye, feeling the imagined weight in our hands, we understand the true nature of the Zulfikar, not just a weapon, but a story, a memory, a bridge across centuries, carrying with it the whispers of history, the currents of rivers, and the enduring song of human aspiration. The figurine that danced in silence, nestled in the quietude of history, a small marble figure rests, delicate and unassuming, yet carrying the weight of millennia. Its presence is subtle, almost fragile, and yet within it lies a universe of movement, music, and imagination. This figure speaks of a world that existed long before grand cities, monumental temples, and written records as we know them today. It is a whisper from an ancient civilization, captured in stone, frozen mid-motion, yet resonating with life. On the Cycladic Islands, where sun meets sea and wind dances over whitewashed stones, communities thrived thousands of years ago. Islanders carved their homes from rock, cultivated terraces of olives and grains, and fashioned tools and vessels from the materials nature provided. Among these creations were figures, small and flattened, abstract in form yet striking in their elegance. They were not rulers, nor monumental depictions of deities in the traditional sense. Instead, they were intimate, human, and enigmatic, perhaps musicians, dancers, or spirits meant to inhabit both the tangible and spiritual realms. The hands that shaped this marble figure worked with simple tools, obsidian flakes, copper chisels, abrasives of sand and stone. Each line etched, each curve formed, was deliberate, producing a figure whose simplicity belied its expressive power. Its posture is precise, arms slightly raised, as if interacting with an unseen object, a subtle tilt of the head suggesting attentiveness or listening. There is no actual sound, no music emanating from its carved form, yet the illusion of melody, of rhythm flows effortlessly through it. Life on the Cycladic Islands was intertwined with movement and sound. Fishermen dragged their nets through the waves, merchants traversed the waters trading pottery and bronze, children played among sun-warmed stones, and at dusk, dancers moved in quiet communal rituals. Music was the thread connecting these moments, woven into daily life, into celebrations, into rites. This figure captures that thread, translating ephemeral music and motion into enduring marble. It is a record not merely of skill, but of cultural essence, of a civilization that valued rhythm, melody, and the expression of emotion beyond speech. Holding the figure, or even imagining it, brings a peculiar intimacy. Its edges, softened by centuries, catch the light differently depending on the angle, casting subtle shadows that suggest movement. One can almost see the figure sway, hear the imagined vibrations of invisible strings, feel the rhythm of long-past celebrations echoing faintly across time. The stillness of the marble is not emptiness, but presence. It invites reflection, quiet contemplation, and wonder at the ingenuity of human expression. Thousands of similar figures have been discovered across the Cyclades, yet this one stands apart. Unlike the more abstracted, folded-arm representations, it conveys action and narrative. Perhaps it depicts a musician practicing at dawn, a performer at a communal feast, or a ritual practitioner invoking favor from unseen forces. Its context is shrouded in mystery, for these figures predate extensive written records, yet their language is universal. Posture, proportion, and gesture convey stories beyond words, evoking a sense of life and vitality that transcends millennia. The Cycladic islands themselves are alive in imagination. Rocky shores dotted with gleaming stones, hills rising sharply from the sea, salt in the air, seabirds calling in the wind. Within these villages, communities built modest homes, cultivated terraces, and gathered for rituals and celebrations. Music, dance, and rhythm were woven into every aspect of life, from the cadence of labor to the solemnity of funerary rites. The figure captures this rhythm, immortalizing it in stone, allowing observers today to sense the heartbeat of a long-vanished culture. Its craftsmanship is exquisite. The hands, though abstract, suggest delicate action. The tilt of the head conveys attentiveness, perhaps a listening to internal melody, or an unseen harmony in the surrounding world. The slight inclination of the torso implies sway and motion, as if the figure might awaken and strum invisible strings. Simplicity of form enhances elegance. There is no ornamentation, only the essential gesture, distilled into enduring marble. To dwell on this figure is to contemplate the essence of human expression. Across time, countless hands have shaped, played, and moved in rhythm with music. This figure preserves that impulse, the desire to create melody, to communicate emotion without words, to capture fleeting moments and render them eternal. Though silent, it speaks across centuries, linking present observers to lives, celebrations, and rituals of the past, familiar yet distant, ordinary yet profound. Archaeological discoveries place this figure alongside other Cycladic artifacts, pottery, tools, ornaments, and numerous figurines, each adding context and illuminating daily life. Yet this one, distinct in its pose and gestural narrative, conveys both artistry and cultural resonance. It hints at the spiritual and musical life of its people, preserving a memory of rhythm and melody even when the instruments, songs, and dancers themselves have long vanished. Its preservation is remarkable. Marble withstands the passage of time, yet centuries leave traces. Tiny scratches, softened edges, faint discoloration. These imperfections are part of its charm, evidence of hands that shaped it, eyes that admired it, lives that intersected with it. Each mark is a whisper of history, a hint of the figure's journey from creation to discovery. The ritualistic and symbolic significance cannot be understated. Music and dance likely played roles in fertility, rites of passage, mourning, and communication with the divine. The figure may have been a mediator between worlds, bridging mundane life and sacred practice, connecting the living and the dead, capturing sound and movement in a still form. Its stillness invites imagination, allowing the mind to fill in movement, melody, and context. In museums today, the figure is often displayed in isolation, behind protective glass and soft lighting. While preservation is crucial, this context can create distance. To understand its essence, one must imagine the world it inhabited. Sunlit terraces, the sparkle of Aegean waters, the rustle of olive leaves, the scent of hearth fires, children laughing, and the soft, strummed notes of music drifting through the evening air. The figure's small form belies the vast cultural resonance it embodies. It is more than a mere artifact. It is a portal. Its gesture, its posture, and the suggestion of music and movement offer glimpses into human creativity, ritual, and social life in the Bronze Age. It teaches that art need not be monumental to be powerful, that even the smallest form can capture the essence of a civilization, and that music, dance, and expression are timeless human pursuits. Over the centuries, scholars, musicians, and artists have drawn inspiration from this figure. Dancers study its pose, imagining its motion. Composers imagine the faint, ancient melodies it might have produced. Historians interpret its context and significance. It remains an enduring testament to human creativity, to the universality of rhythm and melody, and to the profound ability of form to convey emotion, story, and culture. Its silent dance, preserved in marble, evokes the pulse of a long-vanished society. The islands that once nurtured it, Naxos, Paros, Keros, resonate with imagined music, the hum of community life, and the silent rhythm of countless ceremonies. The figure, though immobile, embodies movement and sound, capturing the intersection of art and life, the intimate and the communal, the ordinary and the sacred. The material itself contributes to its voice. Marble, hard and enduring, allows for fine detail, the slenderness of arms, the subtle curves of the torso, the gentle tilt of the head. Its surface, worn by centuries, adds softness, creating an almost lifelike impression. Light plays across its planes, shadows accentuate form, and the figure seems to breathe in response to observation, suggesting life where there is none, movement where there is stillness, music where there is silence. Its creation must have required patience, skill, and an intimate understanding of proportion and balance. The sculptor would have considered weight, gesture, and rhythm, translating the ephemeral experience of music into the permanence of stone. The result is astonishing, a figure that speaks without words, that moves without sound, that sings without voice. It communicates across millennia, reminding us that human experience, joy, creativity, devotion, is universal, transcending time and geography. The figure also embodies the social and spiritual priorities of its culture. Music and dance were likely integral to life, serving communal, celebratory, or ritual functions. Through its posture, one senses the importance of these practices. The careful attention to form, the suggestion of movement, the intimate portrayal of a musician or dancer. It is not merely a decorative object, but a vessel of memory, culture, and expression. Its discovery, whether in graves, settlements, or isolated contexts, adds to the mystique. Archaeologists piece together stories from fragments, imagining the settings in which the figure would have been held, observed, or placed. It could have rested on a shelf in a home, accompanied a ritual or festival, or been interred as a companion to the deceased. Each context adds layers of meaning, yet the figure's essence remains constant, a silent, dancing presence, frozen yet alive in the mind's eye. Time has transformed its surface, yet not its spirit. The harpist's small form, though abstracted, conveys a remarkable sense of humanity. It reflects both the physical realities of the Cycladic people and their cultural ideals. In its simplicity, it captures elegance. In its posture, it captures emotion. In its silence, it captures music. It is at once tangible and ethereal, a link to a past civilization and a mirror reflecting our enduring fascination with expression, rhythm, and beauty. To contemplate this figure is to embark on a journey across time. The mind envisions sun-warmed terraces, the laughter of children, the hum of distant waves, and the quiet strumming of strings. One imagines dancers moving to the music, rituals performed in twilight, and communal life enriched by art and expression. The figure preserves these moments, inviting the observer to inhabit the past, to connect with the people who shaped it, and to sense the silent music that runs like a hidden current through history. Through centuries of isolation and rediscovery, the figure has become a symbol of Cycladic creativity, a testament to the enduring power of art to communicate across time. Its small form is deceptively profound, carrying within it an entire civilization's approach to expression, ritual, and imagination. The harpist embodies movement in stillness, music in silence, and life in stone, bridging millennia with elegance and grace. Even today, its presence inspires contemplation. Scholars debate its meaning, musicians imagine its songs, and artists attempt to capture its subtlety. Yet it remains enigmatic, defying full explanation, inviting reflection, and demanding engagement. It is a reminder that human creativity, even in its smallest manifestations, carries the potential to endure, to speak across centuries, and to connect the living with the long-vanished. The figure's silent posture suggests that music and dance were essential to the human experience on the Cycladic Islands. Though small, it embodies the rhythm, harmony, and cultural identity of its people. Its elegance and abstraction allow it to communicate universally, transcending time, geography, and language. It reminds us that expression need not be monumental or overt to be profound, and that beauty often resides in subtlety, proportion, and gesture. As the sun sets over the Aegean, painting the sea with shades of gold and crimson, one can imagine the original owner of the figure placing it gently upon a shelf, strumming a harp or lyre, or performing a ritual dance. The figure captures this fleeting moment, freezing it in marble for millennia, and though it produces no sound, one can hear the faint echo of ancient strings, the rhythm of hands in motion, and the quiet celebration of life as it once was. The figure's journey from the Cycladic Islands to the glass display cases of modern museums spans thousands of years. Each step, each discovery, has added layers of interpretation, yet the core essence remains: a silent dancer, a musician captured in stone, a testament to human creativity and the enduring power of art. Its story is not merely about material or craftsmanship, but about connection, the connection between past and present, between human intention and observation, between movement and stillness. Through centuries of contemplation, the figure has inspired scholars, musicians, dancers, and artists alike. Its small form carries the echoes of a civilization. Its gesture evokes rhythm. Its silence suggests melody. In observing it, one becomes part of its story, imagining the lives, celebrations, and music that once surrounded it. It is at once object and experience, artifact and imagination, history and present. In the end, the figure endures because it embodies universal human qualities: the desire to create, to express, to celebrate, and to connect. Its marble form may be cold and silent, yet it resonates with warmth, vitality, and memory. It teaches that even the smallest, simplest objects can carry immense cultural and emotional significance, and that art, in any form, is a bridge across time. This figure, though silent, continues to dance, inviting each observer to join in its rhythm, to hear its imagined music, and to feel the pulse of a civilization long past. It is a reminder that creativity transcends the boundaries of mortality, and that the human impulse to shape, to move, to express, and to celebrate endures as strongly now as it did thousands of years ago on sunlit Cycladic islands. The coin that weighed a soul. In the quiet corners of history, where shadows of ancient beliefs linger, a small coin rests, unassuming yet laden with significance. Its metal surface is worn smooth by countless hands, yet it holds an immensity that reaches beyond its size, a passage between life and what comes after. To the people who once valued it, this coin was more than currency. It was a key, a token of transition, a companion for the journey beyond the veil of the living world. Ancient Greece was a landscape of sunlit hills, olive groves, and bustling city-states where life and death intertwined in rituals, myths, and stories. Within this tapestry of human experience, coins like this one played a crucial role, bridging the tangible and the intangible, the world of the living and the realm of the dead. Carried in pockets, placed in hands, or laid upon the lips of the deceased, these small discs were a guide, a reassurance, and a symbol of belief in the journey to come. The coin's creation was deliberate, precise, and symbolic. Metal workers of the time, skilled in their craft, cast and struck the coin with designs that often depicted gods, symbols, or abstract motifs. Each image carried meaning, each engraving held intention. For the coin's recipient, or the soul it would accompany, its weight and form were a tangible reminder of the cultural understanding of mortality, passage, and protection. Its smooth, cold surface is deceptive. It carries the memory of countless rituals, the whisper of prayers, and the footsteps of those who sought safe passage into the afterlife. The practice surrounding this coin, known as Charon's obol, derived from mythology and custom. Charon, the ferryman of the dead, awaited the souls who arrived at the river that divided the living from the dead. Without the coin, passage was uncertain, perilous, or impossible. Families placed these coins in the mouths or hands of the deceased, ensuring that their loved ones would be ferried safely across the river to the realm of Hades. This small piece of metal, simple in appearance, was imbued with profound spiritual significance, a bridge across an abyss that few could traverse without aid. Imagine the ceremonies surrounding such a coin. A family gathers in the soft glow of an oil lamp, whispering prayers, reciting the name of the deceased, and placing the coin with care. The air is heavy with incense, scented with herbs, the smell both comforting and mournful. Every gesture is deliberate, the positioning of the body, the folding of hands, the careful placement of the coin. In this act, the living acknowledge the inevitability of death, honor the passage of the soul, and participate in an enduring tradition that binds generations together. Coins like this one were often simple in design, yet they carried meaning far beyond their metal. Some bore images of gods, ensuring divine guidance. Others depicted abstract symbols, conveying protection or spiritual insight. The act of placing the coin was ritualistic, a dialogue between the living and the dead, a tangible expression of faith in what lies beyond. Through centuries, these small objects remained consistent in purpose, a testament to human continuity in confronting mortality and the unknown. The river that Charon ferried across is more than myth. It is an archetype, a metaphor for the journey every human life undertakes. The coin represents preparation, intention, and care for the soul. It reminds us that even in antiquity, people were aware of the fragility of life and the necessity of ritual. The weight of the coin, though physically negligible, carries symbolic heft, a measure of respect, reverence, and understanding for the mysteries beyond life. Handling the coin, even today, evokes a sense of intimacy and connection. Its edges are smoothed by time, yet traces of engraving hint at its origin. It is small enough to rest easily in the palm, yet its significance is vast. Each curve, each indentation, each wear mark tells a story of a hand that placed it, a soul it accompanied, a family that observed a ritual. It is at once personal and universal, linking us to experiences as old as the earliest civilizations. The broader context of its use offers insight into ancient Greek beliefs about death. The Greeks imagined a landscape beyond the living world where souls traversed shadowy rivers, entered darkened halls, and awaited judgment or rest. Funerary rites, elaborate or modest, reflected the social standing of the deceased and the community's belief in the afterlife. Coins were only one element of these rituals, but they were among the most enduring, a physical object that could survive centuries, carrying with it intangible meaning. In some cases, the coin was accompanied by other grave goods, pottery, personal belongings, and symbolic items meant to ease the journey of the departed. The combination of these objects, placed with care and intention, illustrates the interconnection of material culture and spiritual belief. Each item was a gesture of love, remembrance, and protection, a way for the living to ensure that their dead would not wander aimlessly, but find their rightful place in the world beyond. The coin itself, unassuming to the modern eye, encapsulates a philosophy of care and continuity. Its presence indicates preparation, forethought, and participation in a timeless ritual. Families, aware of mortality and the uncertainty of the journey ahead, imbued it with significance, placing trust in both the divine and in tradition. The coin's small size conceals a depth of meaning. It represents security, passage, and the intimate connection between those who remain and those who have departed. Through archaeological discovery, coins like this one have endured. Unearthed from grave sites, tombs, or sacred spaces, they offer glimpses into the values, beliefs, and practices of ancient peoples. Though silent, the coin communicates a story of human concern, ritual, and reverence. Each discovery invites reflection on the universality of mortality, the continuity of tradition, and the ways in which humans seek to navigate the unknown. The metal itself, often bronze or silver, adds another layer to its story. Bronze, durable yet humble, reflects accessibility and common practice. Silver, rarer and more valuable, suggests social status or particular reverence. Each choice carries intentionality, providing insight into the socioeconomic and cultural landscape of the time. The patina developed over centuries adds visual depth and character, a reminder of its journey through time and hands. In contemplating the coin, one envisions a multitude of lives, each marked by the same concerns and rituals. A mother places it between her child's lips. A husband in grief lays it upon his wife's hand. A community marks the passing of a revered elder. Across these acts, a continuity of care emerges, an acknowledgement that life's passage is both inevitable and sacred, and that even the smallest objects can bear immense significance. The mythology surrounding the coin reinforces its potency. Charon, the ferryman, is both guardian and gatekeeper, a liminal figure mediating between worlds. The coin is his payment, a gesture of respect, a token ensuring safe passage. It embodies the practical and symbolic, reminding us that ritual, belief, and material culture were intertwined. The coin transforms from metal to metaphor, from currency to conduit, from object to symbol of enduring human concern. Through centuries of interpretation, the coin continues to inspire thought, reflection, and scholarship. Its discovery prompts questions about the intersections of economy, spirituality, and social practice. Scholars examine its distribution, placement, and iconography, attempting to reconstruct the nuances of funerary customs and belief systems. Each detail, the type of metal, the engraved motif, the location within a tomb, adds to a complex tapestry of understanding, yet its ultimate significance remains partly shrouded, as intended by the ancient practitioners who understood the limits of human knowledge and control over death. The coin's small size belies its power to evoke narrative and imagination. One can picture the journey of a soul, ferried across rivers of shadow, guided by the unseen hand of Charon, the coin clasped securely in its grasp. One can imagine the quiet sorrow of the living, the ceremonial chants, the scent of incense, and the rhythmic movements of mourners marking a final farewell. In these moments, the coin is central, a tangible anchor in a liminal space, a reminder of continuity and care. As centuries passed, the meaning of the coin evolved, yet its essence remained intact. From practical use in rituals to modern understanding in archaeology, it bridges worlds and eras. It is a testament to enduring human concerns, mortality, protection, and the desire to ensure safe passage for those we love. Even now, observing it evokes reflection on the impermanence of life and the significance of ritualized care. Its survival through time is remarkable. Hidden in graves, protected by earth, or placed in secluded ceremonial sites, the coin has endured despite the erosion of other material culture. Its endurance mirrors the universality of its purpose. Across time and space, humans have sought ways to honor the dead, to provide guidance, and to alleviate the fear of the unknown. The coin is a reminder that small, deliberate acts carry profound meaning, often outlasting more monumental gestures. Contemplating the coin today, one is drawn into a meditation on mortality and ritual. Its presence invites quiet reflection, a stillness interrupted only by the imagination, tracing the journey of the soul it once accompanied. It is a conduit for empathy, connecting observer and ancient practitioner, living and dead, past and present. Through this small object, one can sense the heartbeat of a civilization, the care of the living, and the reverence accorded to those who have passed beyond sight. The coin's physical qualities are intertwined with its symbolic significance. Its weight in the hand, the cool touch of metal, the faint contours of engraving, all contribute to a tactile understanding of the ritual. Even in silence, the coin communicates motion, the transfer from living hand to deceased, the crossing of the river, the final placement in the grave. Each interaction is a story of care, faith, and the human need to navigate the mysteries of existence. In the broader landscape of Greek belief, the coin is part of a continuum of funerary practices. Grave goods, offerings, and ritualized placements all serve to honor the dead, secure safe passage, and reinforce communal memory. The coin's simplicity is deceptive. Its meaning is layered, combining practicality, spirituality, and symbolism in a way that resonates across centuries. It is small, yet it carries the weight of entire traditions, reflecting the human desire to assert continuity beyond death. Through study and contemplation, one gains appreciation for the depth of thought behind such practices. The coin is not merely an object, but a manifestation of cultural values, of philosophical engagement with mortality, and of careful attention to the needs of the departed. It embodies an understanding that life and death are inseparable, that ritual can mediate uncertainty, and that small acts can have enduring resonance. Each coin tells a story, not only of the individual it accompanied, but also of the community that placed it, the culture that produced it, and the worldview that gave it meaning. Archaeologists uncover these coins, piece together the narratives surrounding them, and reveal the intimate human concerns that they encode. They remind us that even the simplest objects are imbued with significance, that ritual and belief permeate daily life, and that the echoes of these practices persist long after their creators are gone. In holding such a coin, imagining its journey from the hands of the living to the grasp of the departed, one becomes part of a timeless narrative. The coin mediates between worlds, between centuries, and between human experience and memory. Its story is not static. It continues to unfold in the minds of those who observe, study, and reflect upon it. Through this continuity, the coin remains alive, a silent yet potent witness to the enduring human engagement with mortality, ritual, and care. Even now, as the coin rests in display cases, shielded from touch and time, it speaks to the imagination. One can picture the river, the ferry, the solemn gestures, and the whispered prayers. One can imagine the hands that shaped the coin, the metalworkers who gave it form, the families who placed it, and the soul that carried it. Through this simple object, one connects intimately with the universality of human concern, reverence, and the enduring desire to ensure safe passage beyond life. The coin, though small and silent, encapsulates the essence of ancient belief and ritual. It is a testament to human ingenuity, care, and imagination. Its presence evokes contemplation of mortality, respect for tradition, and the continuity of human experience across millennia. It reminds us that even the simplest objects can carry profound meaning, that ritual can guide and comfort, and that the connection between living and dead is both tangible and eternal. In the end, the coin weighs more than its physical mass. It bears the gravity of human concern, the rituals of passage, and the continuity of cultural memory. It serves as a reminder that life, death, and care are intertwined, and that even the smallest objects can convey profound truths about our existence, our beliefs, and our enduring need to guide, honor, and remember those who journey beyond the visible world. The necklace that spoke of storms. In the rugged landscapes of Scandinavia, where fjords carve their way into the earth and dense forests whisper ancient secrets, a small object lies hidden within the passage of time. Though it may seem simple, a pendant of metal, crafted and worn centuries ago, it carries with it the power of storms, the echoes of thunder, and the reverberations of belief. The people who held such an object understood it as more than jewelry. It was a talisman, a protector, a symbol of connection to forces that shaped both the world around them and the fates of those who dwelled within it. Long before modern understanding of weather and science, the elements were alive with meaning. Storms were not mere atmospheric events, they were manifestations of gods, portents, and omens. Lightning could illuminate the heavens and signal favor or wrath. The wind could carry whispers from one valley to the next, bringing news, danger, or guidance. Within this environment, amulets were born, small, portable tokens imbued with symbolic resonance, worn as shields against the unpredictability of the world. The particular amulet in question, shaped with precision and often bearing the form of a hammer, reflected a deep intertwining of faith, artistry, and cultural identity. Thor, the god of thunder, was not just a mythological figure, he was a protector, a warrior, and a symbol of strength. His hammer, Mjolnir, represented power harnessed, the ability to influence forces beyond human control. When fashioned into a pendant, it became personal, intimate, and tangible, a miniature embodiment of divine protection carried close to the heart. Imagine the hands that crafted it, skilled metalworkers shaping iron or silver, hammering each curve and edge with care, embedding meaning into every line. Each pendant bore not only the physical form of a weapon, but also the spiritual essence of protection, courage, and connection. These objects were never casual, they were deliberate, chosen for those who would carry them into daily life, battle, and ritual, and in doing so, they became intertwined with identity and fate. In the quiet of a village, amidst wooden homes and smoke rising from hearths, a mother might thread the amulet on a cord for her child, or a warrior might strap it beneath armor before venturing into the unknown. The amulet's weight was light, yet its significance was immense. To wear it was to invoke guardianship, to call upon Thor's favor, and to assert resilience against the unpredictable storms of both nature and life. The metal itself tells part of the story. Iron, strong yet malleable, carried practical and symbolic resonance. Silver, rarer and more lustrous, suggested status, reverence, or ceremonial importance. Even small variations in craftsmanship spoke volumes. Patterns, engravings, and shapes conveyed messages, marking identity, affiliation, or personal belief. Every amulet was unique, reflecting the hands, mind, and intention of the craftsman, as well as the hopes and fears of the wearer. The cultural significance extended far beyond protection. These amulets were symbols of social cohesion, expressions of faith, and tangible markers of tradition. Worn during ceremonies, battles, or daily life, they reminded individuals of their place within a larger cosmology, their connection to divine forces, and their responsibility to act honorably within their community. A simple pendant became a bridge between human experience and cosmic order, a mediator between mortal vulnerability and the power of the gods. Consider the storms themselves: dramatic, awe-inspiring, sometimes terrifying. Lightning flashed across the sky, thunder rolled through valleys, and rain pummeled the earth with relentless force. To the ancient Scandinavian mind, these were not random phenomena. They were expressions of divine will, messages in a language of power and consequence. The amulet, worn and cherished, acted as both talisman and interpreter, a way to carry divine presence in the midst of chaos, a reassurance of guidance, protection, and favor. The act of wearing the pendant was ritualistic, though subtle. Each time it brushed against the chest or neck, it reminded the bearer of divine oversight. Each glance at the metal form evoked reflection, connection, and contemplation. In times of fear or uncertainty, the amulet offered reassurance, grounding, and courage. It transformed from mere ornamentation to a personal shrine, a portable locus of faith that accompanied its wearer across both mundane and extraordinary circumstances. Burial practices further illustrate the significance of such objects. When a warrior, chieftain, or member of the community passed from life, amulets were often placed with the body, ensuring continued protection in the journey beyond. Interred within grave sites alongside weapons, tools, or everyday items, these pendants bridged life and death, physical and spiritual realms. They were not discarded, they were entrusted to time, ensuring that their symbolic power would endure even as generations passed and landscapes changed. The artistry of the amulet often incorporated symbolic motifs, runes, geometric patterns, or intricate hammer shapes, each carrying layers of meaning. Some designs were meant to invoke blessings, others to assert power, identity, or lineage. The metal surface could be polished or left intentionally rough, the choice reflecting aesthetic, spiritual, or practical considerations. These small details communicated the care, skill, and intention of the craftsman, and they shaped the experience of the wearer, linking everyday life with cosmological understanding. In the wider context of Scandinavian belief, Thor's hammer was more than a symbol of force. It represented order, protection, and the defense of community against chaos. It was invoked in oaths, blessings, and ceremonies, marking pivotal moments of life and death. By carrying the hammer in miniature form, individuals claimed connection to these cosmic principles, asserting that divine oversight and personal responsibility were inseparable. The amulet became a conduit through which human courage, divine protection, and cosmic order converged. Beyond personal use, such amulets also functioned as markers of identity and social belonging. A pendant could signal allegiance to a particular clan, recognition of a rite of passage, or acknowledgement of shared cultural values. The presence of Thor's hammer in burial sites or in domestic spaces attested to the pervasive influence of myth, ritual, and community. It served as a visual and tangible affirmation of belief, a way to maintain coherence and continuity within societies dispersed across challenging, often isolated landscapes. The symbolism extended into daily life. Facing the unpredictability of weather, the dangers of seafaring, or the uncertainties of conflict, the amulet was both a reminder and a safeguard. Its presence encouraged courage, instilled resilience, and reinforced the perception that the wearer was aligned with protective forces. It transformed ordinary existence into a space infused with meaning, turning moments of routine into encounters with the divine, the elemental, and the eternal. The discovery of such amulets in archaeological contexts offers insight into the lived experiences of ancient Scandinavians. Unearthed in graves, hoards, or domestic sites, these objects provide tangible evidence of belief systems, aesthetic values, and social structures. Each pendant tells a story, not only of the individual who carried it, but also of the broader community that produced and revered it. The metal, the design, and the context of discovery allow modern observers to reconstruct rituals, cosmologies, and the ways in which humans sought to navigate an unpredictable world. The tactile quality of the amulet invites reflection. Holding it, feeling its weight, tracing its contours, one can imagine its journey, shaped by skilled hands, carried daily across fields, forests, and waters, invoked in moments of fear or ceremony, and finally laid to rest with care and burial. It is a reminder that material objects can carry immaterial significance, that human intention and artistry transform simple substances into vessels of meaning, and that even small artifacts hold profound connections to the lives and beliefs of those who once engaged with them. Storms themselves, both literal and metaphorical, were central to the pendant's resonance. Thor's hammer symbolized not just the natural phenomenon, but the human capacity to endure, interpret, and respond. The amulet encapsulated the power of divine oversight, grounding the wearer in courage and fortitude. It was a tangible reminder that chaos could be navigated, that forces greater than oneself could be appealed to, and that protection, blessing, and guidance were always available through ritual and belief. Through centuries, the amulet's symbolic potency endures. In museums, collections, and private holdings, these pendants continue to speak across time. They evoke reflection, curiosity, and awe, reminding modern observers that even small objects can encapsulate complex cosmologies, social structures, and lived experiences. They serve as bridges to the past, connecting imagination, scholarship, and empathy with the material culture of ancient peoples. The personal intimacy of the pendant is undeniable. Unlike large monuments or grand artifacts, its small scale ensured a private, continuous relationship with its bearer. It touched the body, rested near the heart, and moved with the wearer, integrating faith and protection seamlessly into daily life. Its simplicity belies its depth, a tiny object mediating between human vulnerability and divine power, between the unpredictable forces of nature and the resilience of human communities. In burial contexts, the amulet became part of a continuum of care. Laid alongside weapons, tools, and other personal items, it ensured that protection, courage, and divine favor would accompany the deceased into whatever lay beyond. The act of placing it was ritualistic, intimate, and symbolic, a gesture of love, respect, and acknowledgement that life and death were part of a larger cosmic framework. Through this practice, the amulet's significance expanded, encompassing both life and afterlife in a seamless narrative of continuity. The artistry, symbolism, and usage of the pendant illustrate the sophistication of ancient Scandinavian culture. It demonstrates how humans navigate uncertainty, infuse objects with meaning, and assert connection to larger forces beyond themselves. Each amulet embodies centuries of cultural knowledge, technical skill, and spiritual insight, bridging individual experience with communal and cosmic order. It is a reminder that even small, portable objects can serve as repositories of cultural memory, belief, and identity. The tactile and visual experience of the amulet reinforces its potency. The cold metal, the weight in the palm, the engraved patterns, and the subtle imperfections all communicate intentionality and care. These qualities invite contemplation and reflection, allowing modern observers to imagine the lives, beliefs, and emotions of those who once carried them. In doing so, the amulet transcends its materiality, becoming a medium for understanding the human experience in its complexity, vulnerability, and creativity. Even in modern times, the pendant inspires wonder and curiosity. Its presence prompts questions about belief, resilience, and ritual. How did people interpret storms and the forces of nature? How did small objects mediate relationships with the divine? How did daily life intersect with ritualized practice? And how did individuals express identity, faith, and connection in tangible forms? Through such questions, the amulet continues to teach, resonate, and evoke reflection. As one contemplates the journey of the pendant, its enduring significance becomes clear. From skilled hands to worn cord around the neck, from daily life to ritualized placement in graves, it traveled with individuals through the peaks and valleys of human experience. It witnessed fear, courage, devotion, and community, embodying the intangible in the tangible and the ephemeral in the enduring. Its story, though silent in form, speaks volumes in meaning, connecting past and present, human and divine, material and symbolic. The amulet's enduring legacy lies in its ability to encapsulate human resilience and faith. It is a reminder that even small, unassuming objects can hold vast significance, carrying stories of protection, courage, and connection across centuries. Through it, one gains insight into how humans have always sought to navigate forces beyond their control, to find reassurance, and to assert continuity in a world governed by uncertainty and change. It is through the lens of this tiny, powerful object that one can appreciate the broader cultural and spiritual landscape of ancient Scandinavia. It demonstrates the interplay between human creativity, faith, and interaction with nature. It reminds us that belief and ritual are not abstract concepts but lived experiences, integrated into the rhythms of daily life, materialized in objects that endure long after their original context has faded. Finally, the pendant exemplifies the universality of human concern with protection, continuity, and meaning. Across time, people have sought to mediate uncertainty, invoke guidance, and assert resilience through tangible objects. This small amulet, embodying Thor's power and the echoes of storms, is more than metal. It is a story, a bridge, and a testament to enduring human imagination and faith. Its presence, silent yet profound, continues to captivate, inviting reflection on the interplay between human life, divine forces, and the enduring power of belief. The staff that commanded the wind. In the frozen expanses of Siberia, where the wind sweeps across endless tundra and snow-draped forests, there exists an object of quiet but undeniable power. It is a staff, carved from wood and etched with markings that seem to hum with life, a conduit between the earthly and spiritual realms. Though small in comparison to the vastness around it, the staff commands attention. To the untrained eye, it may appear as a simple artifact, a slender piece of timber, shaped and decorated by human hands. Yet, to the shamans of the region, it is far more than that. It is a tool, a symbol, and a vessel of forces both tangible and unseen. The staff originates from the practices of Siberian shamans, spiritual leaders whose role encompasses healing, guidance, and the maintenance of harmony between human communities and the spirits of the natural world. The shaman's work is deeply intertwined with the landscape, the forests, rivers, mountains, and the skies themselves. These are not inert backdrops, they are living, conscious realms inhabited by spirits, animals, and elemental forces. The staff functions as a bridge, a channel, through which the shaman can communicate, negotiate, and even exert influence over these forces. Its construction is meticulous, every detail intentional. The wood is often selected from a tree considered sacred or potent, a species associated with particular spirits or energies. The shaman carves the staff with tools of bone or stone, inscribing symbols and designs that serve both aesthetic and spiritual purposes. Spirals, geometric patterns, animal motifs, and depictions of natural phenomena, winds, clouds, rivers are etched with precision. Each mark is a deliberate invocation, a prayer turned into form, a tangible representation of invisible power. At the top of the staff there may be a carved head, a crystal, or a bundle of fur and feathers. These elements are not mere decoration, they act as focal points for spiritual energy. Crystals are believed to concentrate power, feathers channel the movement of air and sky, and animal motifs link the shaman to the essence of the creature represented. The staff is therefore not passive. It is alive with the potential to mediate between the human world and the vast mysterious forces of nature. The shaman's staff is used in ceremonies, healing rituals, and rites designed to influence the weather. In the harsh climates of Siberia, where survival often depends on anticipating and adapting to environmental conditions, such rituals are vital. The shaman, holding the staff, may dance in circles, chant, or perform gestures that trace patterns in the snow, guiding spiritual energy toward specific outcomes. Wind, rain, snow, and temperature shifts are understood as the results of complex interactions between human intention, spiritual forces, and natural cycles. The staff serves as a point of focus, concentrating the shaman's will and aligning it with these elemental powers. The staff is also a teaching tool. Young apprentices learn to read its symbols, understand its gestures, and interpret the flow of energy that passes through it. They observe how the shaman moves the staff, how the symbols resonate in ritual, and how specific actions are believed to bring about specific results. Through careful guidance and practice, the apprentice internalizes not only the physical techniques, but the philosophical and spiritual framework that governs the shaman's work. In this way, the staff is a repository of knowledge, an object that carries centuries of tradition, understanding, and cultural memory. Each staff is unique, reflecting the individual shaman who wields it, the community that relies upon it, and the specific spiritual lineage to which it belongs. Some may be adorned with intricate carvings representing spirits of the forest, others with abstract symbols representing cosmic forces, while still others carry attachments of animal parts, believed to imbue the staff with vitality and power. Despite these variations, all share a common purpose: to connect the material and immaterial worlds, to allow humans to engage with forces that are otherwise beyond reach. The rituals involving the staff are deeply immersive. Participants may enter altered states of consciousness, facilitated by drumming, chanting, and the rhythmic motion of the shaman. The staff guides these movements, serving as a center of gravity around which spiritual energy circulates. The wind, a constant presence in Siberia, is not merely observed but acknowledged as a participant in the ceremony. Through the staff, the shaman communicates with the wind, calls it to shift or calm, and aligns its movement with the needs of the people. Weather in Siberia can be unpredictable and dangerous. Harsh winters, blizzards, and sudden storms can threaten life and livelihood. The shaman's staff functions as both a tool of intervention and a symbol of understanding. By engaging with spiritual forces through the staff, the shaman seeks to protect the community, ensure the survival of crops and livestock, and maintain harmony with the environment. The staff embodies the idea that humans are not separate from nature, but integral participants in a web of relationships, where respect, attention, and ritual can influence outcomes. The spiritual power of the staff is believed to reside not only in the symbols and materials, but in the human intention behind its use. The shaman's focus, knowledge, and experience animate the object, turning it from a static artifact into a dynamic instrument of interaction with the unseen world. This interplay between human agency and spiritual energy is central to the staff's significance, demonstrating the profound understanding of the natural and supernatural that Siberian shamans have cultivated over generations. The staff also functions as a protective talisman. Beyond ceremonies aimed at weather, it safeguards the shaman and the community from harmful forces. Its presence is a deterrent to malevolent spirits, an anchor of spiritual authority, and a reminder of the balance that must be maintained between human action and the natural order. In this sense, the staff embodies both power and responsibility, a constant reminder that influence over the world comes with ethical and ritual obligations. Over time, individual staffs gain their own histories. They bear the marks of repeated use, the subtle wear of ceremonies performed over decades, and occasionally, additions made by successive generations. Each scratch, polish, and etching accumulates meaning, becoming a record of human interaction with the spiritual world. The staff, in this way, is not just a tool, it is a living archive, preserving both tangible and intangible heritage. The shaman's staff has inspired awe not only among the communities that use it, but also among anthropologists, historians, and collectors who have encountered these remarkable objects. Its design, purpose, and ritual function reveal a sophisticated understanding of human environmental interaction, symbolic representation, and spiritual practice. The staff exemplifies how objects can embody beliefs, transmit knowledge, and facilitate connections across time and space. Even in contemporary contexts, the staff continues to fascinate. It reminds us that human ingenuity is not limited to technology or material achievement, but encompasses the ability to understand, interpret, and engage with the unseen forces of the world. The staff's existence demonstrates a nuanced relationship with nature, one that combines observation, symbolism, ritual, and ethical responsibility into a coherent framework for living in extreme environments. Its form is not arbitrary. The height, weight, and balance are designed to facilitate specific movements during ritual. The placement of symbols corresponds to energy points or spiritual nodes, guiding the flow of ritual power. Feathers may sway to the rhythm of drumming, crystals catch the sunlight at precise angles, and animal motifs evoke qualities desired for the ceremony. Every detail is both functional and symbolic, reflecting a profound understanding of the interplay between matter, energy, and intention. The staff also plays a role in storytelling. Shamans recount tales of spirits, the creation of the world, and the cycles of nature while holding or gesturing with the staff. It becomes a visual and tactile anchor for narrative, helping listeners to internalize complex spiritual and ecological concepts. Through this process, the staff educates, preserves cultural memory, and reinforces communal identity. In examining a shaman's staff, one can observe the convergence of artistry, spirituality, and practical wisdom. It is a physical manifestation of an entire worldview, one in which humans exist in a dynamic relationship with both the environment and the spiritual realm. The staff's design communicates values, cosmology, and the principles by which the shaman and community navigate the challenges of life in Siberia. Its continuing relevance lies in its ability to inspire understanding, reflection, and respect. Modern observers can appreciate its craftsmanship, its symbolic complexity, and its role in maintaining cultural and environmental harmony. Yet, its true power is revealed only within the context of ritual, intention, and the careful alignment of human action with spiritual forces. The staff, held in the hands of a shaman, becomes more than wood and markings. It becomes a conduit of energy, a symbol of authority, and a tangible link between worlds. Through the centuries, the staff has witnessed countless ceremonies, transformations, and generations. It has been held aloft during dances invoking wind and weather, carried silently through forests in preparation for healing, and displayed as a symbol of spiritual authority and connection. Its durability, both physical and symbolic, demonstrates the resilience of cultural practice and the enduring human desire to understand and engage with forces beyond immediate perception. In contemplating the staff, one gains insight into the profound intelligence embedded in ritual practice. It is a reminder that human creativity is not limited to what is visible or measurable, but extends into relationships with the unseen, the environmental, and the spiritual. The staff is an instrument, a teacher, and a bridge, guiding communities through the complexities of survival, belief, and the sacred rhythms of life. The shaman's staff, commanding the wind and mediating between worlds, stands as a testament to human ingenuity, spiritual awareness, and ecological understanding. It embodies the interplay of intention, material, and ritual, serving as a focal point for ceremony, a repository of knowledge, and a conduit for forces both natural and supernatural. Through its presence, one glimpses a worldview in which humans are active participants in a larger cosmic order, responsible for maintaining balance and harmony through observation, respect, and action. Even today, the staff captivates all who encounter it. Its physical presence is modest, but its significance is immense. Scholars, travelers, and spiritual seekers are drawn to its symbolism, its design, and the depth of human knowledge it represents. It remains a powerful reminder that objects, carefully conceived and ritually empowered, can embody wisdom, transmit culture, and connect generations across time and space. In every etched line, in every feather and crystal, the staff tells a story of humans attuned to their environment, of the sacredness of natural forces, and of the enduring relationship between human intention and the rhythms of the world. It invites reflection, respect, and imagination, offering a glimpse into a rich spiritual tradition in which even the wind itself can be called, guided, and understood through the careful use of a simple yet extraordinary object. The staff is not merely an artifact, it is a living legacy, a symbol of harmony between the human and natural realms, and a testament to the enduring power of ritual, intention, and cultural memory. Its presence continues to inspire awe, offering insight into the sophisticated spiritual and ecological knowledge of Siberian shamans, and reminding us of the profound ways in which humans have historically engaged with the world around them. The idol that drank the sky. In the high deserts of New Mexico, where the sun drapes the landscape in golden hues and the wind carries whispers of centuries past, there exists a small, enigmatic object that has fascinated both the native people and scholars alike. Carved from stone, polished by hand, and imbued with intricate detail, it is a figurine of remarkable presence. To the untrained eye, it is simply a small idol, a piece of clay or stone shaped into the form of a figure. Yet within its contours, its posture, and the delicate carvings across its surface, it carries stories, beliefs, and the power of forces that were once central to the lives of the Zuni people. The figurine represents a rain deity, a spiritual force intertwined with the rhythm of life in the arid desert. Water is life in these lands. Crops, animals, and human survival all depend on the timely arrival of rain. For the Zuni, and many indigenous communities across the Southwest, the presence of water is not merely a natural occurrence, it is a gift, a force to be honored, and a phenomenon that requires both respect and ritual acknowledgement. The figurine embodies this reverence, a tangible connection to the unseen forces that bring rain, nourish the earth, and sustain life. Crafted with extraordinary care, the figurine's features are precise and deliberate. Its eyes, etched deeply, seem to hold knowledge beyond the confines of the human realm. Its posture suggests motion, perhaps the act of drinking or calling the sky, drawing down the clouds in silent command. Hands, feet, and the subtle curve of its body all reflect an intimate understanding of symbolism and ritual. Every groove, every line, conveys intention, as if the sculptor had imbued a fragment of divine energy into the very material of the object. The figurine's role extended far beyond aesthetic representation. It was central to ceremonies designed to ensure rain, fertility, and the health of the community. In the dry, often unforgiving desert, these rituals were vital. Priests or spiritual leaders would invoke the figurine during dance, chant, and offerings, aligning human action with cosmic forces. It was believed that through careful attention, respectful gesture, and ritual precision, the figurine could act as a conduit, channeling prayers to the heavens and drawing down the life-giving rains. The creation of such a figurine required intimate knowledge of materials and form. Clay or stone was sourced from specific sacred locations, chosen for its purity, texture, or symbolic resonance. The crafting process was meticulous. Layers were built, curves shaped, and fine details etched, often over days or weeks. Rituals might accompany the creation itself. Songs, prayers, or offerings performed to sanctify the materials and the eventual form. In this way, the figurine was more than a sculpture. It was a vessel, alive with spiritual significance and human devotion. Once completed, the figurine would be housed carefully, sometimes in ceremonial structures or private spaces designated for sacred objects. During rituals, it might be brought out to participate in dance, raised toward the sky, or placed amidst offerings of food, feathers, or small gifts. Observers and participants would interpret the figurine's position, gestures, and symbolic markings as part of a language connecting the earthly and spiritual realms. In this sense, the figurine was both participant and observer, silently guiding the ceremony with its presence. Water is precious in desert climates, and the arrival of rain was never left to chance. The Zuni people, through rituals involving the figurine, sought not merely to petition the heavens but to align themselves with natural rhythms, to harmonize human life with the environment, and to ensure the continuity of their community. The figurine represented a touchstone for this alignment, a reminder that the sacred and mundane were intertwined, and that respect, ceremony, and attention to the world around them were paramount. Over generations, the figurine became more than an object. It was a repository of cultural memory. Carved symbols might reference mythological narratives, historical events, or allegories about survival and adaptation. Its very form encoded teachings, a silent narrative of connection between human life, the cycles of nature, and the spiritual landscape. In this way, each generation inherited not just an artifact but a story, a lesson, and a framework for understanding their world. The figurine's presence in ceremonies was deeply immersive. As the community gathered, drums would beat, chants would rise, and dancers would move in patterns reflecting both the physical and spiritual landscapes. The figurine, positioned carefully at the center or in the hands of a priest, served as a focal point, drawing attention, guiding movement, and channeling intent. Participants felt its presence, sensing both the weight of tradition and the immediacy of spiritual power. Its quiet form commanded attention, inspiring awe, reverence, and focus. Even the smallest gestures during rituals carried significance. Touching the figurine, lifting it toward the sky, or moving it along designated paths was believed to influence natural forces. Each action reflected a complex understanding of cause and effect, symbolic representation, and spiritual authority. The figurine acted as a bridge, connecting the community's collective intention with the rhythms of nature, demonstrating the sophisticated interplay of belief, ritual, and environmental awareness. The figurine's design was highly symbolic. Curved lines might represent clouds, rainfall, or the flow of rivers. Animal motifs could evoke the guardianship of spirits or the qualities of creatures associated with rain, fertility, and sustenance. Colors, if applied, might hold meaning: red for vitality, blue for water, or black for protection. Every aspect of the figurine's form contributed to its function as a mediator between human action and natural forces. Beyond ceremonies, the figurine functioned as a teaching tool. Elders might use it to illustrate myths, moral lessons, or practical knowledge about the land, its cycles, and its resources. Children learned to interpret its symbols, gestures, and markings, developing an understanding of the broader spiritual and environmental system in which they lived. Through this, the figurine became a living narrative, an object through which cultural knowledge was preserved and transmitted. Its influence was not confined to rituals alone. The figurine symbolized hope, protection, and community cohesion. In times of drought or hardship, it served as a reminder of continuity, faith, and human resilience. Even without overt magical expectation, its presence inspired confidence and focus, guiding actions in both practical and symbolic ways. The Zuni people, by centering their communal and spiritual life around such objects, demonstrated a nuanced understanding of the relationship between human intention and environmental outcomes. The figurine's power, in essence, lay not only in its physical form but in the beliefs and actions it inspired. By honoring it, communities maintained cohesion, transmitted knowledge, and aligned themselves with the natural world. Its silent authority underscored a fundamental truth: objects, when invested with meaning, can influence perception, action, and the rhythm of human life. The idol became a repository of collective intention, a tangible reflection of intangible beliefs, and a conduit through which the sacred flowed into the everyday. Generations of Zuni artisans and spiritual leaders contributed to the figurine's legacy. Each carving, each embellishment, was a testament to cultural continuity, environmental awareness, and human creativity. The figurine embodies a remarkable understanding of the interconnectedness of life, a principle that resonates far beyond its physical boundaries. It stands as evidence of a society deeply attuned to its environment, its spiritual dimensions, and the ways in which human practice shapes and reflects understanding of the world. Even today, the figurine captivates those who encounter it. Scholars, travelers, and enthusiasts are drawn to its quiet presence, intrigued by its form, context, and the stories it carries. Its survival across centuries underscores not only the durability of the material, but the strength of cultural memory. The idol that once drank the sky continues to engage imagination, teaching, and reverence, a link between past and present, human and nature, seen and unseen. Its influence extends beyond ritual into the realm of imagination. Contemplating the figurine, one can almost feel the desert wind, hear the distant rhythm of drums, and see the dancers circling in ceremonial patterns. One can imagine the careful hands of the sculptor shaping clay or stone, invoking blessings, and embedding spiritual knowledge into a tangible form. Through this, the figurine continues to act as a bridge, connecting humans across time, linking belief, artistry, and environmental understanding in a single, enduring object. In observing the figurine, it becomes clear that its purpose is multi-layered. It is a ritual instrument, a symbol of divine power, a repository of cultural memory, and a teaching tool. It mediates between the spiritual and physical worlds, embodies community values, and maintains connection to essential environmental forces. Its design and use reflect an intimate understanding of the desert's challenges, the sacred importance of water, and the broader cosmology of the Zuni people. The figurine demonstrates that even small objects can hold immense significance. It reminds us that power and meaning are often subtle, woven into ritual, tradition, and the careful attention of human hands and minds. Through its form and function, the figurine encapsulates centuries of thought, devotion, and interaction with the natural and spiritual worlds. It is a testament to the depth of human ingenuity, the power of belief, and the enduring resonance of carefully crafted objects in the life of a community. Its legacy continues to inspire. The figurine serves as a reminder of the intricate interplay between human intention and environmental forces, the importance of cultural memory, and the enduring strength of symbolic objects. Even outside the context of ritual, it invites reflection on how humans interact with the world, understand natural phenomena, and create objects that both express and shape belief. The idol that once drew the sky to itself is more than an artifact. It is a story, a practice, and a symbol. It teaches patience, respect, and attentiveness, reminding us that the world is shaped not only by material conditions but by the conscious, purposeful actions of those who seek to live in harmony with it. In its quiet, enduring presence, it continues to command attention, inspire curiosity, and preserve the wisdom of generations who understood that every drop of rain, every cloud in the sky, and every ritual gesture carries meaning far beyond the immediate moment. The figurine's continued presence in collections, museums, and cultural memory speaks to the enduring power of objects to carry stories, beliefs, and connections across time. It remains an emblem of human creativity, spiritual insight, and the profound relationship between people and the natural forces upon which they depend. Its story, etched into stone and clay, whispered across generations, reminds us of the timeless human desire to honor, understand, and influence the world around us. Through this lens, the figurine is not merely a static object. It is a focal point of ceremony, a conduit for spiritual forces, a tool of education, and a symbol of resilience. It bridges generations, guiding understanding, belief, and action, embodying a profound connection between humans, their environment, and the sacred forces they seek to honor. In contemplating its form, history, and function, we glimpse the intricate tapestry of human life, belief, and survival, woven into a single extraordinary object. The lamp that waited in silence. In the arid hills and valleys of ancient Canaan, where the wind carries whispers of centuries past, and the soil preserves the echoes of human life, there existed a small object of quiet yet profound significance. It was a lamp, crafted from bronze, its surface darkened and worn with time, yet still bearing the traces of its original form. To the untrained eye, it might appear as a simple vessel, a utilitarian implement designed to hold oil and provide light. Yet for those who lived within the cultural and spiritual milieu of Canaanite society, this lamp was far more than a tool. It was a symbol, a vessel of ritual, and a witness to centuries of human devotion, domestic life, and spiritual practice. The lamp was likely forged by artisans skilled in working with bronze, a metal that was prized for both its durability and its aesthetic qualities. Its shape is functional, a shallow bowl to contain oil, a spout to hold a wick, and often a handle for carrying or suspending. Yet even within this simplicity, there is evidence of careful attention to detail. Some lamps were adorned with engraved patterns, geometric shapes, floral motifs, or tiny representations of deities that were more than decoration. These engravings functioned as both protective symbols and markers of cultural identity, connecting the lamp to the spiritual and communal life of its owners. Lamps of this type were central to daily life in Canaan. In an era before electric illumination, light was a precious commodity, carefully measured and managed. A lamp could transform a darkened room into a space of warmth, gathering, and activity. Families relied upon them for cooking, weaving, reading tablets, and performing countless domestic tasks, yet their importance extended beyond the practical. Light was intimately connected to the sacred, to the cycles of day and night, and to rituals that marked time, seasons, and life events. In temples, shrines, and private homes alike, lamps were employed in ritual practice. They were placed before altars, offering light to deities, ancestors, or spirits. The flickering flame was not merely illumination, it was an active participant in religious observance, a medium through which the living communicated with forces beyond the visible world. The steady glow symbolized life, guidance, and the presence of the divine. In this way, the lamp was both a practical object and a spiritual instrument, bridging the human and the sacred. The Canaanites, whose civilization thrived between the Mediterranean coast and the interior highlands, possessed a rich spiritual tradition. Their religious practices were diverse, reflecting a complex pantheon of gods, spirits, and ancestors. A lamp might be dedicated to a particular deity, left burning in a domestic shrine, or carried in procession during seasonal festivals. The light it provided was imbued with meaning, symbolizing clarity, protection, and the illumination of knowledge. To extinguish a lamp in some contexts was to close a portal of connection, while keeping it burning ensured continuity between the mundane and the divine. Lamps were also markers of social status and identity. The materials, size, and decoration could indicate wealth, familial lineage, or affiliation with particular religious practices. A simple, undecorated lamp might be used by common households, while more elaborate lamps, adorned with intricate patterns or miniature figurative motifs, could signify higher status or a closer connection to ritual authority. Through these objects, we gain insight into the social and spiritual landscape of ancient Canaan, observing how practical needs, aesthetic sensibilities, and religious devotion intertwine seamlessly. The lamp's use was not limited to indoor spaces. In the evenings, when the sun dipped below the hills and the valleys were cloaked in darkness, lamps guided movement, marked paths, and illuminated workspaces. Shepherds, travelers, and merchants relied on them for safety and orientation. In these moments, the lamp served as a companion, a modest source of security and comfort in a vast and often unforgiving landscape. The light of the lamp was a small but potent counterforce against the uncertainty of the night, a tangible sign of human presence and care. Over time, lamps took on symbolic roles in the broader narratives of life and death. Funerary practices often included the placement of lamps within tombs, ensuring that the deceased would not be left in darkness, that their journey into the afterlife would be guided by light. The flame was a metaphor for the soul, enduring beyond the physical body, and the lamp itself became a vessel for continuity and remembrance. Archaeologists have discovered such lamps carefully positioned alongside other grave goods, revealing the meticulous thought invested in these objects and the cultural significance attached to their illumination. The creation of a lamp required both skill and intention. Bronze casting involved a precise understanding of metallurgy, temperature control, and mold making. The artisan had to anticipate the behavior of molten metal, the shrinkage of cooling bronze, and the final form of the object. This process transformed raw material into a functional and symbolic artifact, embedding within the lamp a layer of human ingenuity and reverence. The effort and care invested in each lamp suggest that these objects were valued not only for their utility, but also for their spiritual and communal significance. Even after the lamp was extinguished, its presence remained potent. In homes, it signaled continuity from one generation to the next, a reminder of familial and cultural identity. In sacred spaces, its memory lingered, echoing the prayers, rituals, and offerings once performed in its glow. The lamp that waited in silence did not merely occupy space, it bore witness, preserving stories of daily life, devotion, and the passage of time. Its stillness is a kind of speech, a silent testimony to the lives it touched, the rituals it illuminated, and the history it silently guarded. The lamp also reflects the broader technological and cultural sophistication of Canaanite society. It represents an understanding of light, fuel, and combustion, combined with aesthetic sensibilities and ritual knowledge. In a world without artificial illumination, the lamp was central to shaping human activity, organizing time, and structuring social and religious life. Its presence facilitated reading, writing, and craft work, enabling cultural transmission and the development of complex social structures. Scholars examining such lamps note the delicate balance between utility and symbolism. The object is functional and enduring, yet it carries layers of meaning that transcend mere physicality. Its simple design belies a profound role in everyday existence, spiritual practice, and community cohesion. The lamp embodies the interconnection between the material and the symbolic, the human and the divine, the temporal and the eternal. In modern times, the lamp continues to fascinate researchers, historians, and collectors. It offers a tangible connection to the distant past, revealing the ways in which ancient humans engaged with light as both a practical resource and a symbol of hope, guidance, and continuity. The study of lamps provides insight into the broader cultural practices of the Canaanites, illuminating domestic life, ritual, and the human desire to impose order and meaning upon the natural world. Through the centuries, the lamp has traveled far beyond its original context, surviving in tombs, archaeological sites, and museum collections. Each scratch, dent, and patina tells a story of use, handling, and endurance. Its survival is a testament to the durability of bronze and to the enduring significance attributed to it by those who crafted, used, and preserved it. In its quiet presence, the lamp continues to speak across millennia, reminding us of human ingenuity, devotion, and the ever-present desire to create light in darkness. The lamp's design may seem modest, but it encompasses layers of cultural and spiritual understanding. Its proportions, decorations, and functional features were deliberately chosen to maximize both utility and symbolic potency. The careful attention given to its form reflects the broader values and aesthetics of Canaanite society, demonstrating that even the smallest objects could embody profound meaning. In contemplating this lamp, one gains an appreciation for the intricate relationship between daily life and spiritual practice in the ancient world. The lamp is not merely a tool, it is a participant in ritual, a guide through darkness, and a witness to generations of human experience. It exemplifies the fusion of practicality, artistry, and devotion, offering insight into the ways humans have historically understood and shaped their environments. Its silence is as meaningful as its light. Though extinguished, the lamp retains its presence, a quiet observer of history. It waited in homes, temples, and tombs, witnessing births, deaths, celebrations, and mourning. Its flame may have faded, but its significance endures, reminding us of the persistent human desire to illuminate both the physical and spiritual realms. Through careful study, the lamp reveals its multifaceted role: a source of light, a spiritual instrument, a marker of social identity, and a repository of cultural memory. It invites reflection on the ways humans have engaged with their environments, sought connection with the divine, and preserved meaning across generations. In this sense, the lamp transcends its physicality, becoming a symbol of continuity, wisdom, and human ingenuity. Even today, archaeologists and historians are captivated by the lamp. It offers tangible insight into domestic and ritual life, providing clues about lighting practices, spiritual beliefs, and social structures. Its enduring presence illustrates the sophistication of Canaanite craftsmanship and the depth of symbolic thinking embedded in everyday objects. In the quiet of an excavation, as dust is brushed away from its surface, the lamp seems to awaken, whispering the stories of those who once lit its flame. It tells of households bustling with activity, of priests performing sacred rites, and of generations who relied upon its glow to navigate the darkness. It embodies the delicate balance between practicality and meaning, demonstrating how human beings have long infused ordinary objects with extraordinary significance. The lamp that waited in silence is a testament to the subtle power of everyday objects, the enduring human desire to create, illuminate, and connect across time. It stands as a symbol of life, devotion, and the careful interplay of light and shadow in shaping experience. Though centuries have passed, the lamp continues to speak, a quiet yet profound witness to the lives it once illuminated, and a reminder of the human capacity to imbue even the simplest object with enduring significance. Its bronze surface, etched with time and use, carries the memory of countless rituals, meals, conversations, and prayers. The lamp itself becomes a bridge between the past and the present, a conduit through which we glimpse the daily and sacred rhythms of ancient Canaanite life. Through its quiet endurance, we are reminded that even in silence, objects can hold profound meaning, telling stories that span generations and illuminating the human experience in ways that words alone cannot capture. The shield that sang of storms. In the sun-baked hills and rugged landscapes of ancient Greece, warriors prepared for battles that would shape history, their lives intertwined with duty, honor, and survival. Among the many instruments of war, there existed a particular shield, known to those who wielded it as more than mere protection. Crafted with skill, care, and a deep understanding of both form and function, it became an extension of the warrior's body, a partner in combat, and in its own subtle way, a storyteller. The shield, made from carefully chosen wood and reinforced with bronze, had a rounded convex shape, designed to absorb the shocks of blows and project a sense of authority and presence on the battlefield. Its surface bore the marks of countless clashes, the dents and scratches telling silent tales of courage, fear, and endurance. The hoplon, as it was called, was central to the life of a Greek soldier, particularly the hoplite, whose very identity was intertwined with this piece of equipment. Unlike lighter shields carried by skirmishers, the hoplon was heavy, requiring strength, balance, and coordination. It was designed not only for individual defense, but also for collective strategy. When rows of soldiers locked shields together, forming the formidable phalanx, each shield became part of a living wall, protecting comrades while advancing as one. This collective use elevated the shield beyond a personal tool. It became an instrument of unity, discipline, and shared purpose, its presence felt as much by the group as by the individual warrior. The materials of the shield were carefully selected to balance durability and manageability. Wood, often sourced from resilient trees like oak, provided a core that absorbed impact, while bronze reinforcement along the rim and central boss offered additional protection against piercing and cutting attacks. Artisans might embellish the surface with painted or embossed motifs, depicting symbols of gods, animals, or geometric patterns. These decorations were not merely aesthetic, they carried significance, invoking divine protection, signaling allegiance, or inspiring fear in opponents. A hoplite's shield could be read as a story in itself, a reflection of identity, belief, and cultural pride. Beyond its functional and symbolic roles, the shield had a voice of its own. When swung in battle, its movements produced sound, the clash of bronze against bronze, the thud against enemy weapons, and the rhythmic pounding as soldiers advanced in unison. To those who understood, these sounds were not mere noise, but a language of warfare, a song of strategy, courage, and tension. The shield, in a sense, sang of storms, storms of battle, storms of emotion, and storms of human resilience. Its resonance carried across the field, connecting individual action with collective effort, echoing the spirit of the warriors who depended upon it. Training with the hoplon was rigorous. Soldiers spent long hours learning to maneuver the shield with precision, balancing weight and mobility, mastering the coordination required to both defend themselves and support their comrades. The skillful use of the shield demanded foresight, awareness, and adaptability, for in the chaos of battle, a misplaced movement could be fatal. The hoplon required a relationship built on trust and discipline, a partnership between object and bearer, forged through repetition, sweat, and shared purpose. The shield also played a crucial role in the social and cultural life of Greek city-states. It was not only a tool of war but also a marker of citizenship and status. Only those who were free and able-bodied were expected to serve as hoplites, and the shield symbolized their obligation to protect their polis, their city-state. It was a tangible emblem of civic duty, a reminder that personal strength and courage were inextricably linked to communal responsibility. To bear the hoplon was to bear the weight of both protection and honor, a daily reminder that the individual and the collective were inseparable in the defense of home and society. Larger than its practical function, the shield had spiritual dimensions as well. Soldiers often prayed to gods like Athena or Ares before battle, seeking favor and protection. A shield could be consecrated, adorned with symbols invoking divine guardianship, or dedicated as a votive offering. In this sense, it was more than an instrument of survival. It was a medium connecting mortal endeavor with the divine, a vessel through which courage and devotion were expressed. Even after the battle, shields might be preserved, repaired, or displayed, serving as a testament to victories won, lives defended, and values upheld. When engaged in combat, the hoplon became a living extension of the warrior. Its weight forced commitment to movement, its size demanded coordination, and its presence influenced tactics. The soldier's breath, pulse, and muscle tension were all in dialogue with the shield, creating a rhythm of action that, when performed skillfully, could turn the tide of battle. The sound it produced, metal ringing against metal, wood against wood, formed an auditory map of the chaos around it, a constant feedback that informed decisions, guided maneuvers, and conveyed the intensity of conflict. In this way, the shield truly sang, its song a composite of skill, strategy, and the raw immediacy of life and death on the battlefield. Beyond individual encounters, the shield was integral to formations. The phalanx required soldiers to trust each other implicitly, aligning shields to create a continuous barrier, advancing together, retreating together, absorbing blows as a single entity. Each hoplon was part of a greater whole, its movements dictated not only by the individual's intention, but by the rhythm of the unit. In these moments, the shield's song was collective, a symphony of synchronized defense, echoing the discipline and cohesion of the Greek military tradition. Archaeological discoveries of hoplons, though rare due to the perishable nature of wood, reveal the meticulous construction and attention to detail that went into each piece. Bronze bosses, sometimes engraved or embossed, serve as the surviving testimony of the skill involved. Paint traces suggest the vibrant visual presence these shields once had, a fusion of art and utility. Studying these artifacts allows us to glimpse the intimate relationship between warrior and equipment, between functionality and expression, between the mundane and the heroic. The shield also held a place in Greek mythology and storytelling. Heroes such as Achilles, Hector, and Theseus were inseparable from their shields. Their narratives intertwined with the objects they bore. Tales spoke of shields that bore symbols granting protection, of armor that inspired courage, and of the interplay between divine favor and mortal skill. In these stories, the shield was more than metal and wood, it was a character in its own right, a symbol of valor, resilience, and destiny. Even outside the battlefield, the hoplon retained significance. In training exercises, ceremonial displays, and ritual dances, shields functioned as extensions of identity and cultural expression. Their forms and symbols communicated affiliation, virtue, and social role. The weight of the hoplon in hand reminded young soldiers of their responsibilities, of the balance between strength and strategy, and of the ever-present need for vigilance and coordination. The hoplon's song of storms extended beyond literal combat. In the imagination and memory of those who wielded it, the shield carried tales of weathering challenges, enduring hardships, and navigating uncertainty. Its sound, rhythm, and presence shaped not only practical action, but also psychological fortitude, a companion in moments of fear and triumph alike. The shield taught lessons of perseverance, discipline, and unity, echoing through the lives of individuals and the collective ethos of the polis. As centuries passed, the hoplon became more than an object of war. It became a symbol of heritage, a relic of cultural identity. The surviving examples, preserved in museums and collections, offer a tangible link to the values, skills, and lives of those who came before. Through careful study, historians and enthusiasts can trace the evolution of materials, construction methods, and symbolic meaning, understanding the broader social and military contexts in which these shields operated. The hoplon's song persists even today, in the careful touch of archaeologists examining its surface, in the study of ancient texts describing its use, and in the imagination of those seeking to understand the lives of Greek warriors. The clang of metal, the rhythm of marching phalanxes, and the measured sway of shields in unison continue to resonate across millennia, connecting modern observers with the lived experiences of the past. Its curved bronze surface, pitted with battle scars and polished by use, tells a story of endurance, protection, and human ingenuity. The shield embodies the interplay between human creativity, practical necessity, and symbolic expression. It is both a tool and a testament, a silent participant in the drama of history, and a reminder of the complex relationships between individuals, their communities, and the forces they sought to navigate and master. Through its weight, sound, and presence, the hoplon teaches that objects can be more than functional. They can carry identity, history, and emotion. The shield that sang of storms is a narrative artifact, resonating with the courage, skill, and shared experience of those who once relied upon it. In its silence, in the stillness of its preserved form, it continues to speak of human resilience, of cultural pride, and of the enduring song of life, struggle, and unity that echoes through time. Even as we observe it now, carefully protected behind glass, or reconstructed in scholarly study, the hoplon remains alive in imagination. It reminds us that history is not only written in texts and inscriptions but also etched in the objects that humans crafted, carried, and depended upon. Its song is eternal, an auditory and symbolic echo of storms, weathered, battles fought, and the relentless human pursuit of meaning, protection, and honor. The shield's resonance, both literal and metaphorical, captures the essence of ancient Greece, the interplay between individual valor and collective strength, between earthly struggle and the pursuit of glory. It embodies the balance of power, discipline, and artistry, offering insight into the military, social, and spiritual dimensions of a civilization whose influence continues to ripple through history. In contemplating the hoplon, one realizes that its story is as much about human experience as it is about warfare. The object becomes a lens through which we view courage, loyalty, and the intertwining of personal and communal identity. Its song, carried across battlefields and through the annals of time, remains a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of those who wielded it, and to the enduring power of objects to capture, convey, and preserve the essence of a civilization. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the world's most mysterious and awe-inspiring artifacts. We hope these stories have sparked your curiosity and transported you through time and history. If you enjoyed this exploration, please hit subscribe and like, and let us know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. Until next time, keep uncovering the secrets hidden all around us.